We'll call this meeting to order. In accordance with the open meeting law, the board states for the record that this meeting is being recorded by NORCAM and may be recorded by other local media. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business will be board member reports, old and new business. I will start it off because I just, myself and the town administrator were fortunate enough to go to the festivities of the dedication of the Chuck Carucci Senior Field up at the middle school, high school. It was a combination of celebration of the naming of the field, again, which was approved at June town meeting. And again, to name the field after Mr. Chuck Carucci. And then also is also a 10-year anniversary of the opening of the school. And they were doing tours of the school. Some of the National Honor Society member students were available to take people on a tour of the school. And a few people made remarks. Representative Jones, Senator Tar were there. Members of the school committee. It was just a great evening. Again, Mr. Carucci and his wife Mary Ann, present with his extended family, all present down at the field, and then we went back up to the school for some more discussion and accolades as far as, can't believe it was 10 years since the school has been open. Time flies. But the comments were universal in relation to what a wonderful facility we have to educate our youth and the investment that was made by the community. While it's the teachers and the administrators and people that are inside the building that educate our youth, we certainly have provided them with a vital tool in the school itself. It was a wonderful facility and what it provides for an opportunity for our students for the last 10 years, which is hard to believe. It was 25 years in the making. When the first plans and discussion of building that new school was about 25 years ago. And so it's a testament to a number of people in the community who had the forethought and the foresight and the determination, to bring it forward. And again, the community eventually had widespread support to build it, and the facility is serving us well. But again, not without the educators inside that building. It's not the walls, it's not the roof. That's a tool. It's the educators that really do make a difference in our students' lives. But again, giving them an environment where they want to come to work every day and assist in educating our youth and our students is critical. And they're extremely complimentary. And again, our retention rate on teachers and as such is a testament to the investment that the community has made. And as far as Mr. Carucci, I mean, everybody, most everybody in the community knows Chuck. He's born and raised in the community and been involved for well over 50 years in different things. And he was chair of the secondary school building committee, and it took years to develop that project and bring it forward. And he had high compliments for everybody that brought it to fruition, and is extremely grateful for this board's endorsement, the school committee's endorsement, and town meeting's endorsement of naming the field after him, and he's extremely grateful. And I would insist that we recognize Mary Ann, his wife of 62 years, for her tolerance and understanding and sacrifices that she and her family have made to allow Chucky to continue to serve. Again, he's still on the Hillview Commission. He just got elected to the Housing Authority, works on the Planning Commission, School Building Committee, and a whole host of other things, along as a local businessman. Just a terrific fellow. And it's wonderful that we were able to recognize him while he's still around and still here. That doesn't happen often enough at times. So great testament to Chuck, and he was very grateful. So it was a terrific event. And I was happy to be there, happy to speak on behalf of the board. And again, as a member of the Secondary School Building Committee myself, I can't believe it's 10 years that have gone by since it's been open, but it seemed like it took a long time to get it done, but now it's been 10 years since it's been completed, so a lot of satisfaction. But again, accolades to the voters and the taxpayers of the town of North Reading for the continued support. And again, I also mentioned the facilities people at the school there. It looks as good today as it did the day it opened.
Mhm.
They're taking good care of the investment that you made in the school, and it's a testament to their pride and their work. So it's a great event. The other thing that I think is important that, and again, I'll defer to the town administrator at this point, as far as, the last couple of weeks or so, since the Board of Health meeting, where residents of Martin's Landing had expressed some concerns, the Board of Health has trumped in both feet, along with the Special Services Department, town administrator, state DEP, and the levels of communication have certainly been enhanced between the developer, the property managers, and the residents there. Doesn't mean it can't be improved, but what I would like to do is just have the town administrator give the most recent update as of today as to where things are at. So Michael, if you would.
How's that? That better?
We cannot hear you at all, Mr. O'Reilly.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'll try. Very good.
I'm going to do my best to stay right on top of the microphone
Your
here.
problems
Well,
break.
always. So.
As opposed to me.
So I have an update regarding the Martin's Landing wastewater treatment plant and odor issue that we provided to folks who had reached out to the health department from Martin's Landing today. And I'm just going to read from it. The health department, at the direction of the Board of Health and with the assistance from the town administrator, has been working with the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, or Mass DEP, Pulte Homes of New England, Martin's Landing Condominium Trust, and their consultant, Small Water System Services, Town Council KP Law, and a third-party consultant, Porter Odor Science, regarding odors reported at Martin's Landing at 104 Lowell Road. It's important to note that the town's involvement through its Board of Health is limited to the odor and nuisance complaints, and that the wastewater treatment plant suspected of causing the odors is regulated by Mass DEP. Pulte has committed to working with the town's Board of Health and Health Department to engage a third-party consultant to evaluate the plant's odor mitigation. Pulte Homes of New England provided the following update to its residents 2 weeks ago. Regarding the Martin's Landing wastewater treatment plant odor, Pulte management acknowledges your concerns about odor levels emanating from the plant and agrees that the current situation is not acceptable to you, the residents at Martin's Landing. To address this, Pulte is working and has committed to work with the North Reading Health Department and Board of Health to engage a third-party independent consultant to evaluate the existing wastewater treatment plant odor mitigation systems and recommend both immediate short-term and long-term odor mitigation improvements, and to implement short-term actions to minimize odors right away while also planning for long-term odor mitigation solutions. Updates on the progress of these mitigation efforts will be shared as this review moves forward. Regarding the Martin's Landing wastewater treatment plant tank repairs, as communicated on October 10th, 2025, Pulte has scheduled the repairs of the steel wastewater treatment plant tank that has experienced corrosion to begin on October 27th. This work is expected to take approximately 4 weeks, with completion anticipated by the beginning of the last week of November. Once the repairs are complete, the wastewater treatment plant will be placed back into normal operation. As previously discussed, Pulte is making the repairs at Pulte's full expense with no cost to Martin Landing Condominium and includes a 5-year warranty from the contractor. While the warranty provides peace of mind, the expectation is that the repair will last well beyond 5 years. There will be no interruption of service during the repair period. However, daily pumping of system will be required, which may result in temporary odor, noise, and inconvenience. I sincerely apologize for this, and we will do our best to minimize the impact. As previously discussed, additional concrete tank repairs are still needed. Unfortunately, these repairs will not be scheduled concurrently with the steel tank repairs. Nevertheless, Pulte remains committed to completing the concrete repair work at Pulte's full expense with no cost to Martin's Landing Condominium. I will provide further updates once the timing for the work is confirmed. And again, that what I just read was an update provided by Pulte Homes of New England to the residents at Martin's Landing. Finally, Mass DEP completed an inspection on October 3rd, which identified issues to be addressed at the plant, and Pulte and the permittee Martin's Landing Condominium Trust, along with its licensed operator, Small Water System Services, have responded to reports and orders issued as a result of that inspection. Work has been performed at the plant this week, meaning last week. The replacement of media filters will be completed soon and will continue in the coming weeks as outlined above. Mass DEP has informed the town that there are no significant violations at this time, and the facility's most recent data show that it is currently fully compliant in meeting its effluent limits. So that was an update that we provided to the residents at Martin's Landing. I will add that both the health director, myself, and at times the chair of the Board of Health have been conducting visits to evaluate the situation over there. Just today we were there. Wind kind of made it hard to tell what was going on with the odors because it was pretty breezy, but we did see a pretty large tractor-trailer truck come to pump out the tank, as was expected. I will also add that some members of the board received an email from a resident on behalf of other residents concerning potential issues related to the HVAC system. There was an inspection that was conducted today at a couple of units to evaluate what the residents are going through, and we received indications from Pulte that they're aware of the issue and committed to addressing it. But we'll be consulting further with town council with regard to our role in that and taking the appropriate steps over the course of this week. So thank you.
Very good. And again, as chair and liaison, I'm CC'd on all correspondence. I've had almost daily communication with the town administrator in relation to the issues that are taking place over there. Certainly, since the Board of Health has gotten involved, I think the level of communication has been enhanced significantly. I think people are getting, the feedback that I'm getting from residents there, and had several phone calls and asked them to continue to communicate with me. They're heartened by the fact that the Board of Health is involved, the administration is involved, and that issues that have been long-standing for a long period of time are now being addressed on a more timely fashion, and the communication level has been significantly enhanced. We hope that that continues. The fact that Pulte had agreed to the third-party coming in engineering firm to evaluate what the odors are emanating from and what corrective action should be taken. This contractor has been chosen by the Board of Health and will be paid for by Pulte, which again they quickly agreed to, and we're looking forward to the evaluation being taken place and looking forward to see what the findings are, what corrective actions are being suggested. So I think we're doing the best we can at this particular point in time, and there's no indication that until we get some resolutions and some definitive answers, we'll continue to press on. So that's it on the Board of Health update and Pulte. Mobile Home Rent Control Board. The Mobile Home Rent Control Board has concluded their public hearing on the discontinuance of Perry Park and have now forwarded their recommendation to us. I had the town administrator forward it to all members of the board for your information and for you to read. We have a 90-day window from the time that vote was taken, which was just last week, to have a public hearing on our own. The final decision rests with this board as far as the discontinuance application. So at some point we will, in the not too distant future, be scheduling a public hearing on it. That public hearing, I'm anticipating that there's going to be a significant number of people looking to come before us and state their cases, not just the applicant, but people who live there, residents. So it will probably be a separate meeting from a regular meeting, because as we're getting into the end of the year, we have a lot of other work to do. So we'll try and get some sort of a date that works for everybody. And if we have to push it into January, we will. I'm trying to get it done before that, but it'll probably be a separate date with a limited, if anything else is on a limited agenda, to take it into consideration so we can make a final determination so that the applicant will know where we stand and what we think. And we want to handle it as expeditiously as possible. But you can anticipate that it's going to be coming up shortly. All right? Just wanted to also mention that the food pantry is in need of a significant amount of donations at this point, with the SNAP benefits being curtailed. And again, it was in a state of flux up until a couple of days ago. And as of this afternoon, the federal administration has determined that they're going to be issuing SNAP benefits at 50%, and it may take as much as 2 additional weeks for those benefits to be handed out. So again, the need for the local level here, at the local food pantry level, is significant. To just for informational purposes, we have approximately 700 residents in this community that are serviced by the food pantry, and about 92% of them are SNAP recipients. So that there is a significant need in our community that the food pantry has been servicing extremely well for a number of years here, but again, it's being strained. I do want to mention for sure, and there's no doubt about it, that over the last few weeks here, there's been a significant outpouring of support from the community to the food pantry as a result of the reduction in federal benefits to our residents who are impacted by it. And it's extremely heartening because the response has been terrific. But more is needed because the timing of those benefits that are going to be released, again, are going to be at 50% of what they normally would be and delayed to those individuals. So I would continue to urge our residents, again, we live in a terrific community here where everybody is extremely generous and conscious of the needs of those who are most in need in our community. And a lot of people are really stepping up to the plate, and it's great. So I would just urge people again to continue to support for as long as you can right now, because the need is still significant until this other issue at the federal level gets resolved. Just to let people know that the visitation and outreach for leasing space for the senior center has begun. I was able to go on one visitation that had been scheduled already. 2 others are to be contacted and scheduled moving forward as of right now, and they continue to, the administration continues to work on evaluating potential property usage, for both the short interim period and potentially long-term, as town meeting had authorized us to do. So it's been, just want to let people know that the process has begun, it's ongoing, and will continue for the foreseeable future. As far as the, I'm going to have to put an agenda item for the board to consider potentially at our next meeting as to what we are envisioning the makeup of a committee for either intergenerational or and/or senior center. So give that some thought, and there'll be an agenda item on either the next meeting or the following meeting to start formulating our ideas as to who we believe should be on the committee, what their charge is going to be, and what the timelines associated are going to be. And finally, to my board members, I would like to inform you that it's my intention at our next board meeting to put an agenda item on to revisit our interest in 97 Main Street. And again, it kind of dovetails with the leasing of space for the senior center, the need for a location for a fire station, maybe potential location for packaged sewage treatment plant, Route 28, potential move or need to address the situation here at Town Hall. Right now, we have no options, and all of those, whether it be the intergenerational senior center, whether it be leasing of space, whether it be a location, our fire station building committee is hard at work trying to find a location on the west side of town that would work. We obviously had a significant amount of interest in this property, last winter and spring, as we were in negotiations with Stop and Shop to potentially acquire the property and go to town meeting in June. But again, we were not given the opportunity to come to any agreement with them at that particular time, so we had to pass it over. But at that point, we did inform the public that we may continue to look at the property and potentially make attempts to purchase it. In light of what's, again, even since June now, so it's been 5 months, we still don't know what's going on there. They have not transferred ownership of the property. I understand it's under purchase and sales agreement, and that's fine, but our needs haven't changed. If anything, it's been highlighted by the fact that this board has now endorsed the fact that we need to attempt to get the senior center under one roof in order to function properly, whether it be through leasing space. And again, just the first visitation, you're talking $200,000 plus a year just to rent some space. Other estimates, and that was a reasonable estimate. Others are in excess of $300,000 to $400,000 to lease space. I think it's time for us to take another visit, another look at it, and I'm going to put it on the agenda for the next meeting for us to provide ourselves some opportunities moving forward. Costs associated with, we need a new fire station, we need some land. We need a senior center, intergenerational center, whatever that's going to be, we need some land. We need some space in order to get the senior center under one roof, we need some space. We need to address the situation here at Town Hall, not tomorrow, but in the not too distant future, and we need to provide ourselves some opportunity. So it'll be a subject matter for our next meeting for us to discuss as to what our next moves might be. So I think it's important that we take a look at it, look forward a little bit, seize control of the situation, and have an open discussion, and then make some determinations as to how we move forward, or if we move forward. But I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little more frustrated just being in a reactionary mode rather than a proactive mode to address these concerns and issues that are right in front of us. So with that, I'm all set. Mr. Walden?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing about the food pantry. They really need our donations now. I don't think you mentioned it, Steve. You can go to NRFP at nrfoodpantry.org. I'll repeat that, NRFP at nrfoodpantry.org to make your donation. It's easy to do, takes you just a few minutes, and really this is desperate times. And as I learned tonight, SNAP benefits makes up 90% of what the food pantry can provide on a normal basis. So 10% comes from food pantry, 90% comes from SNAP. So if you take away half a SNAP, you can see how much the food pantry needs to make up. So please give and be generous. And I think somebody was saying there was a corporate match. I just saw it today. I'm going to try to find it before the end of the meeting here. And
It was Carrier, yeah.
Carrier, I
Yeah,
think.
Charlie,
yeah, Carrier HVAC.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, so there's a corporate, so you can get a match if you go to Carrier, I believe, and I'll try to get the details. And then second, I'm really excited about talking about 97 Main Street. It's only been in my mind for about 15, 20 years. So it's good timing. Let's do it. Thank you.
Mrs. Moore?
I'm gonna second what you guys just said about the SNAP benefits. 35% of SNAP benefits are children. We're very fortunate here in Massachusetts that school lunches are free to all residents, but children who do not attend public school are not eligible for that. So out of the 700 residents that we have, 30% of them statistically could be kids, and some of them could be kids under the age of 5, and they do not have access to food. SNAP benefits can be as little as $6 per payment. So think about what you can get for $6, and then think about what you can get for $3, which is almost nothing. So I would second the appeal to help support the local food pantry, and this is not just our town. Every surrounding community is struggling. I've seen calls for donations from literally every town in the state.
Mr. Studo?
The next 20 Elm Street hearing is on November 19th. And I'm trying to see if, in the distance learning lab. So that's the one that you gotta walk a little further down, but it's much more conducive to conversation. That's it.
That's it. Mr. Massey?
I'm good, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Oh, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry,
Yes.
one more thing. The CIT is sponsoring the third and final public informational hearing regarding the NFG, and it's on November 20th here in this building at 10 o'clock.
And how about the library book sale?
The library book sale is, the donations closed today, and the library book sale is starting this weekend, I believe. There's a Children's Day. Tomorrow. Tomorrow's the Children's Day. So kids are invited to come and browse. Adults are invited to come buy the books for the kids on behalf of the kids. And then the sale will continue on to benefit the library.
The response has been good? First
Excellent.
donations?
Amazing donations. Everyone come on down.
I don't know where you found all the tables to hold all the books.
Yeah.
They're just like,
Very good.
It was really like PW, so
Oh, that's awesome.
All right, all set, members?
So I'll just say I did find his message. This came from Charles Tyler, and what he writes is, if anyone here wants to double their financial donation to the food pantry, my company, Carrier HVAC, will match donations 100%. I just did it myself, and it's quick and easy. Only thing is that I have to make the donation through our company portal, so you would need to Venmo your donation directly first. I will email you back the confirmation receipt of your donation, so you know I made it. So again, it's Charles Tyler. Just look him up on Facebook. You'll find that message. I'm a little confused what it means, but I know it's available, so take advantage of it. Thank you.
Very good. Other old new business, board members report. With that, public comment. Ms. Mullin.
Thank you. Rita Mullin, 29 Abbott Road, North Reading, Mass. I'd like to, Steve, you just mentioned, Mr. O'Leary, sorry. You just mentioned you might meet next week to talk about the new committee. What I'd like to ask the selectmen is that you give us the opportunity for the groups that have been working on it for a long, long time and go into that Facilities Master Committee for 8 to 10 years to come up with something that I had hoped that we'd be able to have an opportunity to have those directors have a chance to have read the HKT report, which most of us have, make some comments, because remember, when it was done, it wasn't proofread by all of us to make any changes or whatever, and at least give all of us the opportunity to meet with the TA, consider we're all appointed by him, to at least give him some recommendations and some suggestions that we think, for the people that have been working on it all that time, might be ideas for a committee. That's all. It's just to at least take our input on that, where we've been studying, I think, the most, and it's a kind of our area of expertise to be able to pass on to the TA and, see if he'll accept that and then go from there. Thank you very much.
Excellent, thank you. Yep. Mr. Gannon?
I had 3 cards, Jim Gannon, 9 Duane Drive. I had 3 cards. You covered the first 2, but I'll do this real quick. Yes, thank you to the town for supporting our neighbors in Martin's Landing. I know they appreciate it, and as a citizen, so do I. And as far as the food pantry is concerned, just watching the North Reading Community Connection today and in the last couple of weeks, the donations that have come in, the generosity of this town has been unbelievable. So I again, want to thank everyone who has donated and everyone who will continue to donate. Last one, and I'll try to do this real quick. The legislature asked the Department of Revenue and Division of Local Services and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to do a study on local contribution components for the state's Chapter 70 school finance formula. There were 2 last week, 2 this week, listening sessions that those groups have been doing around the state. And the last one is actually online on November 18th from 4 to 7 p.m. I've spoken to Jeff Freeman about participation at the school committee level. I would ask that the select board also take a look at it. There is a wonderful, although 30-minute video that Senator Joe Comerford, who is out west, has put together that talks about the listening sessions is not about schools exclusively. It is about fire. It is about police departments. It is about Prop 2.5. It is about monies that, through the current Chapter 70, towns are forced, if you will, to put up that maybe could go elsewhere. So they're asking for participation from not only select boards, but also from members of the community. So I did put a couple of things on Facebook today, and I hope that the select board will look to participate in that as well.
If I could just ask you to forward the information to the board members individually.
Absolutely.
Again, our
Absolutely.
emails are online, and that would be very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody online, Mr. Gilberto?
There was a comment and it's for a later agenda item.
Oh, okay. Any other public comment? None? Okay. Next agenda item, proclamation, Veterans and Military Families Appreciation Month and Veterans Day. Mrs. Moran.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve and sign a proclamation designating November 2025 as Veterans and Military Families Appreciation Month in North Reading.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Massey.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Why don't we vote on that? Any discussion, and then we'll read if it passes favorably, we'll then we'll so proclaim.
Thanks for carrying Mrs. Gonzalez's torch. Should be happy.
Very good. So again, what we're looking to do is not just recognize the veterans on Veterans Day, but again, set aside a month of notification of appreciation on behalf of a grateful community and country, so nation. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. And Mrs. Moran, would you do us the honor of reading the proclamation?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Veterans and Military Families Appreciation Month, November 2025. Whereas the town of North Reading recognizes the courage, dedication, and sacrifice of the men and women who have served in the armed forces of the United States, and whereas veterans from all branches of military service have defended our nation's freedoms, protected our communities, and contributed to the strength and resilience of our country, and whereas November is a time to honor and remember those who have served, those who continue to serve, and the families who supported them. And whereas the town of North Reading is committed to fostering a community that respects and supports its veterans through public recognition, civic engagement, and access to resources. And whereas the town encourages all residents to participate in local events, ceremonies, and educational activities that honor our veterans and promote awareness of their contributions. Now therefore, we, the Select Board of the town of North Reading, do hereby proclaim November 2025 as Veterans and Military Families Appreciation Month in North Reading, Massachusetts, and urge all citizens to join in recognizing and honoring our veterans for their service to our town, our state, and our nation. Signed by the Select Board, proclaimed this third day of November 2025.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Next agenda item. Accept a gift for the Flint Memorial Library, a donation from Rotary Club.
I think so.
Sure. Library Director Sharon Kelleher.
Thank you. I would like to say thank you to the Rotary Club. We were trying to secure funding for an AED to put in the 4th floor of the library building. It's a 5-story building. I reached out to Peter Majane at the Rotary Club, and within 24 hours we received a positive approval for them to purchase an AED for us. So I would like to thank the Rotary Club and Mr. Majane for making this purchase possible.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, through you, Mr. Majane's actually on the meeting this evening. I'll ask if he wants to make any comments.
Yeah. Peter, thank you. Have any comments, Peter? Maybe.
Thanks, Peter.
Here he is.
Yeah, hi. Thank you very much, Mike and the board. Sharon reached out, and we're very excited to present to the Reading Rotary Club board the opportunity to present a gift to the library for the defibrillator, and the board voted unanimously, and we presented the check to Sharon at a meeting subsequent to, and we're very happy to reach out to the town and help out whenever we can. Thank you all, and thank you again. Thank you, Sharon, and Mike and the board. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you, Peter. And again, this is just another example of our local businesses supporting and contributing to our community. And this is something that, this particular one, interesting enough that we didn't have one in there, but
So we do have
We
one
do have one.
on the activity room floor and on the first floor.
on the first floor. So this is
Now we'll
to
have one.
supplement,
Correct.
which is excellent. certainly every minute makes a difference, right, Chief? Yeah, absolutely. So again, Peter, please extend our appreciation to the Executive Board of Rotary and your Rotary members, and for your continued support. It's greatly appreciated. With that, we have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to vote to accept the gift in the amount of $1,710.70 for the Flint Memorial Library gift account.
Second?
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Massey. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. Thank you very much. And we're beyond the witching hour of 8 o'clock, correct? All right, so, notice of public hearing, property tax classification. The Select Board will hold a public hearing Monday, November 3rd, 2025 at 8 p.m. to determine the percentage of the local tax levy to be borne by each class of real and personal property for fiscal year 2026. This hearing will be held in person in room 14 of Town Hall, located at 235 North Street, North Reading, Massachusetts, and via virtual technology through Zoom and on through mobile apps and dial from your location. Interested taxpayers may provide comment at this hearing or may submit testimony in writing to the Select Board at the Town Hall, 235 North Street, North Reading, 01864, or via email at townadministrator@northreadingmass.gov, no later than 12 noon on Monday, November 4th. With that, we'll open the public hearing and call upon our assessor.
You guys don't mind if I sit, right?
I would expect that you would sit. Yeah, please do.
Okay.
This is an annual event. And just at the outset, it appears based upon your recommendations, the Board of Assessors will be recommending a single tax rate. All right, and I would like the record to show, please, that I have a family member who actually owns commercial property in the town of North Reading. So I want to, for full disclosure, and therefore, since the Board of Assessors are recommending a single tax rate, I will be participating in the discussion and deliberations of the board. I just want the record to show that for sure, okay? As far as the disclosure, I believe, Mr. Waller, you have a similar situation?
Similar? Yes.
So, Mr. Waller is also disclosing that there's a potential appearance, but the recommendation for a single tax rate precludes the necessity to recuse ourselves. And with that, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, Mr. Chair. So, good evening and welcome to tonight's annual classification hearing. This hearing is held every year in order for us to set a tax rate. Before we dive into the data, I would like to take a brief moment and thank my staff. We've had a lot going on this year with the implementation of this new means test, because that works with the tax classification, with the tax rate recap. So I just want to really take a moment and thank them for keeping their job, their position still working while implementing something new. So that was a lot of work, but we got through it, we did it. This year, for fiscal year 2026, it was an interim year. I won't be saying that next year when I'm here. Next year is a reevaluation year. That's a big year for this year. A lot of work, a lot that we have to put into for certifying all the values throughout the town. A lot of reporting done to this state, and it's constant, all year round. It starts in about April, and we end usually around November. I would like to report that we had a timely value certification, and that was October 9th, 2025. New growth was certified also on October 9th, 2025, in the amount of $2,475,106. There was a little bit of a surprise on our personal property for our new growth. And again, that came from our businesses. The personal property is a tax that is based off of any of our local businesses. So we did have a huge account.
Excuse me, that's
That
primarily
came online.
furniture, fixture, equipment, right?
Furniture, fixtures, inventory. and
Inventory of equipment.
So with that, we can move on to the hearing. Thank you for giving me that opportunity. Michael, what's on this?
Just work it out.
Oh. Is it- Oh, I'd rather use the mouse. I don't want to mess up. I could do that. So for tonight, for the select board's role, you have four decisions to make. You need to select a minimum residential factor, selection of an open space discount. I'm gonna just say right out of the gate, we do not have any open space. Open space is not just like big tracts of land. It has to be registered as open space. We do not have it. Granting of a residential exemption and granting of a small commercial exemption. I put this in just so that we can see the trend. The residential percentage of the tax levy is 87.63. Commercial, industrial, and personal property going forward, I will be calling this CIP, is 12.37. That is the portion that makes up for our commercial, industrial, and personal property. So you can see I have the tax levies from 2020 to 2026, and I'm not going to read those. It's really just for information. Are there any questions on that slide? What is a split tax rate? Communities may decide to tax residential and CIP differently. The statute allows an increase in CIP share of the tax levy up to 50% higher than the residential. It does not generate additional revenue. It reallocates the levy. So if you choose to shift, we're not going to generate new taxes. We are going to have less on the residential and more on the CIP. The last time the town of North Reading split their tax rate was 1985 and 1988. This slide I put in just so that we can see where the town, really it's a bedroom community, as the 87.6% shows you. The average single family is $883,002, up from $855,502 last year. The residential condominiums, of course, with Pulte, we're adding 63 every year. So that still falls under residential, but we are adding units, if you will. The multifamilies, those are 5 units or more. We have 74 of those. Mixed-use properties, that would be like the Joker's Wild. I'll use that one. There's apartments and then there's retail on the first floor. We still have 183 vacant pieces of land. I'm not saying they're buildable. I said we have 183 vacant pieces of land. We have 313 commercial and industrial properties. Personal property accounts, we have 535. The open space discount, again, this is not, we don't have any, but a lot of misconception comes because we do have some farmland, and we have 2. But those are taxable properties, so the open space, they don't qualify for that because they are taxed under the 61A classification. So I'm gonna breeze through that one. The tax rate for the average single family in 2025 was $10,604.69. The tax rate, or the tax for the average single family, with the anticipation that the new rate for 26 is certified at 1302, that's a projected rate at this time, is $11,503.20. The residential exemption. The select board may adopt an exemption up to 35%. What that does for the adoption of this is it takes the 35% off of the lower end homes and shifts it to your higher end homes. So on the next slide, I gave you a scenario of 10%. I have the average 883,502, and I just noticed a typo on the previous slide. Sorry about that. This math is right though. So at 1302 and the taxes being 11,503.20, if you go down to, and I ran reports to come up with this 580 on the low end and the 2 million on the high end. So if you look at that, you're shifting the $755.16 from the lower end home, but it's shifting over to the higher end home. Are there any questions on that?
Why would a community do that?
Well, so the residential exemption, when that was implemented by legislation, the city of Boston, there's only 20 communities out of 351 that actually adopt this. Most of them are your homes down the Cape, because the people that are owners, I shouldn't say people, the owners of second homes don't receive this exemption. If they're a full-time resident, they get the exemption. So that would shift over to the second home values. So that's really what it was created for.
Thank you.
This is the same example, only using 15%. and 20%. I did not go up to the 35. It just didn't make any sense to me. So I kept it at 20. Are there any questions on the residential exemption?
Board members, all set? Thank you. Deb?
The small commercial exemption works in the exact same manner as the residential exemption. The difference with the small commercial exemption is the fact that we are told from the Division of Unemployment Assistance, we receive a report from them, and they tell us how many businesses in the town have fewer than 10 employees. The value can't be more than $1 million, and they can't have more than 10 employees. So we do physically go through that report to look at our values, because our values change every single year. That being said, we have 23 businesses that could possibly qualify for this. If we add in the condos, say 350, 348 Park, we'd be up to 64.
64. And again, these business owners have to be property owners.
That's correct.
And again, many of the small businesses we have in town with fewer than 10 employees are tenants, and therefore can't realize
They
any
wouldn't benefit
Correct.
from it.
Correct.
They would not. Are there any other questions with this? Classification. The select board may shift the town's tax burden from the residential class to the commercial, industrial, and personal property, as long as the shift does not exceed the minimum residential factor. We could not shift in this town due to our percentages more than 1.5. If you're in a community, take Boston or take a Burlington even, they have the ability to shift up to 1.75, but because of their percentages, they don't have as much in the tax levy on the residential side, so they can shift more. I hope I explained that correctly. Are there any questions on this?
That's it, I think. Thank you.
And this guide is just to back up the percentages of the different property classes for the town, the makeup of North Reading. This shifting of the rate, if you look at this, and I apologize, I know it's small, but it's so hard to get things on PowerPoint big enough to see. I actually started bolding stuff. So here you can see if you went to a shift, if you want to follow it to the right. So right now we're anticipating a tax rate of 1302. If you were to shift it the 10% down to the 11.772, that would become the residential tax rate. If you follow that column down under the rate 110, see the CIP becomes $14.32. And then if you go over to the 125% rate, that would reduce the residential down to 9.77, and the CIP would increase the 16.28. And I did that out to the 1.5. Are there any questions? Sure.
Mr. Studo.
Ms. Carbone, I've asked you this every year, so thank you for answering me every year. Typically, communities that have a dual rate, what is typically their percentage of commercial versus residential?
So there's really no rule of thumb anymore. I can tell you, and I'll be outdating myself for how long I've been in this industry, but back until about, I want to say, the 82, 84 range, 30% used to be the magic number. So if you didn't have 30% of your total tax levy under CIP, you couldn't shift. You had to stay with a tax rate. Fast forward, legislation came in and changed that because I can tell you Boston wanted it done and allowed the shifts to happen locally. But that's why they use the tax levy borne by the classes to determine if you, to allow the select board to make that decision. That's where that all came from.
Okay. And the reason I say it is, let's see, I looked it up and I think I am right. Wilmington is roughly 25%. They have a dual. You know, besides a lot of people being very generous to the food pantry, we have a lot of PhDs in economics and mathematics on Facebook. The funny part is when you look up what they do for work, none of them actually practice it. So again, and this comes up a good amount about the split. So every year I just want to say that there's a reason we can't do it. It's actually simple math, so you don't even need these PhDs. What a waste of a degree. And again, it's something where for the few we do have, right, the idea that you can just lay on some of the bigger businesses we have, like this huge tax rate on the industrial or commercial side, you know, it's not going to make that huge of a difference unless you really lay it on pretty thick.
That's right.
And we already have multiple reasons why North Reading's unattractive for businesses. You know, one of them being that it's very expensive to treat water.
Infrastructure.
As you know, many are learning the hard way. So I do think that like it's important to say that. You know, that's why I asked. You know, every year it's the same question, and it's just important because it's not because everyone here lives in North Reading. If we did this, everyone here would have lower taxes, including sitting up here. But it just doesn't make any sense based on where we're at the moment. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
So if I may, I would like to add to that. Very recently, we had a vacant commercial property. It was a restaurant. It could no longer become a restaurant under a new lease because of the infrastructure. So now that will become a retail. Okay, it's leased at least, that's the bonus part. But my rents for a restaurant are $24, $26 a square foot. My retail are like 17, 18. So without the infrastructure, and we are a bedroom community, so the infrastructure doesn't always work in that type of community. But you have to stay on top of your commercial and industrial properties, and I can tell you, I do. And to look at this, I mean, we have a couple of big, it's a handful of large commercial industrial properties. Outside of that, we're talking properties that are in the $700,000-800,000 range. I mean, we do have one that's at 70 million, but that's one. And then we have one at 32 million, 6 something. But outside of that, we're looking at the average, and that's where I look. You know, this is the majority, the average is the majority of my reports when I'm running them that I see. I don't see the big Raytheons. I don't see the big Square One Mall or Burlington Mall, which, you know, those generate a lot of income. And I can tell you, for my commercial industrial property, for me to get to my values, I have to have 3 approaches to value. It's cost, it's market, and then it's income. And if I ever go to court on a commercial or industrial piece of property, the appellate tax board holds their hat on income. So that's why I always run the reports.
Mr. Chair, through you.
Yep, Mr. Massey.
Just thinking though, I mean, since 1988, we haven't shifted it. So how do we know all these businesses are gonna run away if we shift it just 5–10%? You know what I mean? I think, I'm wondering really how much, I mean, relieving the residents at an 87% rate, in my opinion, would be more beneficial. But I want a way that because I understand the infrastructure, I understand the reasons that it's been done, but it hasn't put us in a good financial position long-term in a long time. So maybe something has to change, and you wonder if a small change gets us maybe going in a little bit of the right direction.
May I answer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Massey, I'd have to say, how would we know if shifting the rate, whether it be minor or whether it be to the 1.5, we wouldn't know if it's gonna run them out, but do you wanna take that chance?
No, that's a good point.
I think if we go back to the slide where it said the town did try shifting the rate in 1988, which was the first year the shift was allowed, and then they did it again 2 years later. So I have to think that it either didn't work or it just went away. I mean, it's the select board's vote. I provide the data.
Oh, of course. I'm just trying to poke holes. I'm trying to figure out, I guess, why you wouldn't. I mean, I think principally you would think a property that's making money, profit, compared to I mean, just principally, right? You'd think everywhere else you go. I mean, we are the only ones, right, with the same tax rate?
No.
Anywhere else near us?
The most comparable town you have that we have near us is actually Middleton. And we're in the same situation with infrastructure, and we don't shift the rate. Well, that hearing's coming up, not next week, next week. So we haven't shifted the rate for exactly the reasons that we're discussing. The fact that most of our commercial property in the town is only in the mid-range. Our residential average home is almost $1 million. But the commercial property isn't even up to that. So I don't want to name names. If I could, that would probably make it easier. I mean, I'd be happy to sit down with you and show you my report that I do every single year and just how I look at the values for the commercial properties.
Because I'm just thinking, if we keep going down this same road, this is basically what you're recommending and what the board has done historically. This is not going to change for another 10, 15 years if Sue were to ever come, right? I mean, that's what I'm hearing the position is infrastructure. So until that comes, this is going to be like this for a long time. And I'm wondering if we need to start thinking if that's really necessarily the right way to go. Because where has it really brought us to benefit us? You know what I mean? What benefit has it brought us? I understand business is staying, but incrementally, I think it
We do have
doesn't
quite
hurt.
a bit of turnover in the smaller sections of the commercial, not industrial, but commercial. We do have quite a bit of turnover.
Mrs. Galvin?
Shifting wouldn't gain us any additional revenue.
No.
I understand.
So if you take a business, you named one that was $70 million. So if we shifted and their tax rate went up $1.30, that's $91,000 to that business. So if you had a business that gave us $1 million in new growth because of all the equipment they just put in, which is what happened this year, do we really want to take the chance that we drive them out? $1 million in new growth.
You have to really, like,
Thank you.
to know the data, and I watch this data all the time. The residential home values increase, I mean, as that slide showed you, is rapid. The commercial is not. And I'll tell you, I'm finally seeing where some of my commercial, more so the office space, because after COVID, the office space was hurting, your restaurants were hurting. You know what? I did not reduce their values, but that's what their values stayed pretty much the same for about 2 years. And I had to do that because there was nothing in the market to tell me to increase them. Now, I can tell you warehouse, that went from $6 to $15. But again, that's all a result of COVID and coming out of COVID and where we're at right now. It's the select board's vote based off of the data.
Thank
And
you.
like I said, I have no problem, Mr. Massey. I will sit down with you and go over that report and share how I get to the final data sets so that I know what I should present to the board.
No, I think it's very well presented. I'm just trying to understand. It's been the position of this town for a
But
long
you're-
time to keep it
even
like
if
that. I'm
you
just
shift-
trying to understand.
If you shift, you're still not gaining any more revenue.
I appreciate it. I heard you. Thank you.
Mr. Studo?
And no, because I do share that sentiment as well, Mr. Matthews said, right? It's like, you think, hey, you should just take a shot, and then you weigh with everything. But I do think that it goes back to a just larger conversation in the community, that this is something that would be very popular. But to get to that, something, as Mr. Massey mentioned, something's got to change, right? And again, it goes back to the short-term pain for long-term gain argument that seems to not resonate for whatever reason. So I think that, you know, I mean, I keep telling the story that Mr. Conley told me when we were in financial planning, that this was Reading until people just got tired and said, we got to do something because taxes just keep falling on us, and they just, I mean, I'm not saying we do that, but they kind of open the floodgates to development.
That's 100% correct.
Because it got to a point where it was just, properties kept appreciating. It's happening here. You're seeing it everywhere. They're not going to go down. I think there's 20 homes going online above 2.4 million in the next 18 months. I can tell you what that's going to do to property value wide. So get your checkbook ready. But the point is that, again, until it gets to the point where, what do you do to stop it? I don't think you can stop it.
No.
But what you can do is, again, I'm not saying we're going to be Reading, but it's that the community as a whole is going to have to make an investment. So then one day, whoever is sitting on this board, or even you or someone who after you can say, guess what? I can actually recommend a split tax rate. What do you think? So again, and I think that's why it was important to look at it and like, no, because I agree with Mr. Matt. It's not gonna change. But the
100%.
problem is that we're in a vicious circle, right? And it's something where, I don't think we're there yet. I think it's gonna take a little bit more. It's gonna take, another big cycle, because we just had a big one in North Reading where homes appreciated a 7% clip annually. That
Yes.
happens another 5-6 years at the next cycle, and then it's just gonna be, I know you think you have a small house, but it's worth $1 million. Give me the check.
And I see it happen. I see it happen.
Yeah, Mr. Wallner?
Yeah, it's just take a ride down Main Street and look at all the empty properties and all the buildings that are up for sale. I mean, if every building was filled up and we had people trying to get in, split away, makes sense, but people are not coming into our town as businesses, they're mainly leaving. And so if we were to do a split tax rate, that would accelerate it, and trying to get people back would be almost impossible. So it's just too big of a risk, because until we start to fill up the empty spots that we have, we really can't do anything.
On the coffee shop.
I can tell my board members, I happened to be on the board in 1988, last time they shifted the taxes.
Oh, boy.
And I don't recall how I voted. I don't know. I believe it was a 5% shift at the time. And I can tell you that the reaction from commercial property owners in the community that year, and then the following year we didn't do a split rate. The room was filled with commercial property owners and small business owners who rent in commercial property, not the owners, because what happens is when the owners get taxed more, it just gets passed off to the small
Right.
business
The
owners,
next door.
who are the people who are giving you defibrillators, contributing to the local, schools and organizations and all the rest, and supporting a lot that goes on in this community. There was a quick shift on the board back in 1989, I can assure you that. And ever since, there have been years when we've had a significant representation of commercial property owners and small businesses who are tenants in commercial properties coming before us and urging us, to stick with a single tax rate. I can also tell you that in 1988, there were some things in the works out on Concord Street, and a special act of the legislature in 1990 and all the rest that allowed for River Park to be built. It was Teradyne at the time. And one of the best arguments that we were ever able to make was, Wilmington has a split tax rate, we have a single rate here. Give them the parking lot, give us the buildings. They are our single largest taxpayer in the town of North Reading to this day. And in that particular structures that are there are now $1 million worth of personal property taxes and inventory just came through. And so again, until we get to a point where the ratios are significantly different. In 1 year, and again, I haven't done the calculation. This is the first year I haven't done the calculations. And normally what I do is I say, okay, what can I save the average taxpayer by shifting it 10% or something? And I can save you $150. I can save you, $15 a month, whatever it's going to be. But for the average commercial property owner, that's those 313 pieces of property, it's going to cost them $2,000, $3,000 more a year to save you $150. Is it worth driving them out of town? And again, those increases in taxes are going right to the small businesses who don't own the property. The vast majority of small businesses don't own the property. They have to absorb the cost, and you're still expecting them to be good members of the community and contribute. And it just hasn't worked out. So I was there then, and the arguments have been the same every year, and it hasn't gotten any better. I mean, we had certain ratios. I think at one point maybe we were up to around 13 or 14, maybe 15%. We were getting,
Yeah,
I think
14.
14 point some odd percent. We didn't quite hit the 15% marker, and it still didn't make any sense because, well, it's a token to me. If I can save someone $10 or $15 a month in their real estate taxes, and then cause small local businesses to increase their rents by $3,000 It's not worth the trade-off. We get far more in return for retaining a single tax rate. So, but good question. Again, I get the question, there's a year that goes by that people don't say, why don't we shift the tax rate? And so most people don't understand that it doesn't raise another dollar, and all it does is shift the burden. When you explain that, they go, oh. And then when you say, and by the way, I can save you 150, but it's gonna cost them 3 or 4 grand. They go, oh. Generally, they come around, they get it. But again, 20-second soundbite, 45-minute explanation, and we get to the same point.
Thank you.
Yep. I'm sorry. Ms. Carboni, continue. And by the way, in case you didn't realize it, when she said we Middleton, she happens to sit in the same position that we're in here in the town of Middleton and struggles with the same questions over there. So we have a great,
I sit on the other
right,
side too that presents in the
Right.
middle.
right, so we
I
have
sit on both.
we have a great appreciation for your angst.
So with this scenario, this is information presented to you for fiscal 2020 through 2026, and just what our tax rate, where it has gone, and the lower and the higher on valuations. This was really difficult to get in there, but I did bring extra copies if anyone wants a paper copy. So this is just for information, just so that we can see the trend between the residential and the commercial. And again, we're looking at the average for commercial and industrial values for 2020, it was $1.9 million. 2026, we're at $2 million, just under 3. But we hover right around that 2 million mark on the average commercial industrial property. But our residential has gone from 601 in 2020 to 883.5 in 2026. So I just felt like that was something that we needed, that I wanted to add to this year. Are there any questions on that? And again, I apologize, it's so small. Maybe I went too far. Never mind. So in conclusions, we cannot set a tax rate or mail tax bills timely for December 31st, unless this public hearing is held and the 4 votes are taken on. So I ask you tonight to vote on the open space discount, commercial exemption, residential exemption, and whether you want to split the tax rate or retain a single tax rate.
And you're gonna move forward, just explain the senior means test too? I think that's your next slide
I
down.
think we should do this first, because that's classification, then we'll move over to the senior means.
All right. First, is there any public input? Yeah, Mr. Gilberto?
I just would like a clarification. On an earlier slide, Mrs. Carboni, it might have been the 3rd slide in your presentation, shows a comparison of an average single-family tax bill, $10,604.69, increasing to $11,503.20. But then in this grid that you put in that showed the longer history, last year's was higher than the number. I think we might have a previous year on that slide, because I don't think the increase is.
Which one?
So go back a couple of slides, if you scroll backwards. Keep going.
2021, we were 15.63. In 2021, we were 15.63.
Right there. So if you look, you see there's a comparison, $10,604.69, $11,503.20. If you scroll forward to the one that you show all the history on it, going back to at least 2020.
So the numbers are the same using the tax rate.
Remember, like they say, the house was valued, the same house was valued more.
I'm just looking at the bill. I mean, again, it may be I'm misunderstanding the way it's presented, but
So this slide right here was the average single family, and maybe it's a mathematical error. The tax rate for 25 was in fact 1306.
no, that I know.
I think it's probably higher than the 10604. I think
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
my
right.
point.
I think
Yeah,
my
yeah,
house is
you
right
think
around
they-
that
they-
855.
Yeah.
I mean, I can
Yeah.
put it on a calculator.
Just looking at that, I mean, that describes a
Yeah,
$900
it's
a year
11,166.
increase. Yeah, it's more like, $400, so we just want to be clear. The increase is, the trend has continued, unfortunately. The residential
Yes.
share is
that
kind of
is a typo.
it's kind of gobbling up the commercial, industrial, personal, except for $1 million in CIP type value in equipment that we had, which actually drove the rate slightly more favorably towards CIP and away from residential. But I don't want people to walk out of here thinking their average single-family tax bill is going up $900, because not.
Right. And thank you for pointing that out. So that should be $11,166.33.
Thank you.
My apologies.
And I think your later slide has that number on it, but I just want to make sure people are
Good catch.
clear.
Thank you for catching
That was
that.
11,166,
11,166
33.
and 33 cents.
And that's what I'm showing here. Great, thank you.
And the other is 11,5, what?
50320.
11,503.20.
You want me to go back to it?
No, it's okay.
I do think prior to the vote or a vote on potential classification, we should clarify that the senior means exemption program does have an impact on the residential rate. So
Okay.
I just think I think that's the explanation that the board
Is
members
that
might be
what
looking.
you,
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
just alluding to, is that,
we can do
the
that.
town meeting did vote, and we did take action, and we did implement, and we've had 28 people that have qualified, and there's been a slight shift just on the residential side, not the commercial industrial.
That's correct.
So why don't we explain that first, and then we can see if there's any other public input.
Okay, so the senior means test at the annual town meeting in June of 2024, it was adopted. From there, we had to send in a home rule petition, which the legislation did come through fall of 2024 to allow us to implement this senior means test. In total, we had 28 applications. I'm happy to report all 28 did qualify. So our qualifications, you have to file the circuit breaker with your annual tax return. The house cannot be valued, the residential house, you have to own it for at least 10 years in the town, and it can't be valued over $1,025,000. The assets cannot exceed $275,000. So all 28 applications that did come in did qualify. The total tax that we're exempting from the applications is $34,415. Because even though we allowed 50% of what the circuit breaker was issuing, which was 2,730. I didn't bring my senior means. But not all of the applications were entitled to that 50% of the $2,730. Some of them were only entitled to like $600 or $800. So that's what changed the $34,415. The anticipated tax rate as an impact from the senior means because what that does is that is going to, that 34,415 is going to shift across the residential homes. So yes, we're going to exempt the 28 applications, but 34,415, we still have to make that up, and that's coming off, and it does change the rate to 1302. Commercial will be 1301. So it's just a very minor shift, and it's not a penny for a penny, because the way Gateway, which is our reporting to the state, it's not 1 cent, it's a portion of. So it's not like we could just shift and put another penny on CIP. If you were to do that, if we try to make up for that penny 1302 on residential, the CIP, the least that we can get it to is $13.15. So that is just a gateway. It's the way the system, the senior means works. We are not the only one. Every town that did adopt the senior means and use the shift and not take it out of overlay, it's the same thing. And I've talked to all of them. So that is what it is. I do have another slide. So this here shows you a little bit more. See, in the middle where it says senior value exempt, so that's $2,635,145. So that's the value that makes up the 34,415. So that value has to be shifted off onto the residential to get to that 1302. And if you look in the middle on the shift increments, I did use 1.01. If we could have gone out, Lorianne, what did we come up with, 3 decimal points? Then we could have done it, but Gateway only allows 2 decimal points, and I called the guy that created this.
It's not gonna round that much.
No.
No, he's rounding up. Rounding up. Mr. Wallner.
So it's our first year of experience. We had from a few years ago, we knew that 400 people in town were eligible for the mass circuit breaker. And so looking at this number, it's basically 5% of the people qualified for the match, which I would consider to be kind of disappointing. And so I'm suggesting that we increase that $275,000 asset limit and go up to a higher level, because I think we should be including more people. I think we did a good job of advertising it. We really pushed hard to get people to learn about it. I think what came forward is really what's out there. We have the ability to be able to do that. It's not in the H4784. I'm reading that document right now. We have the ability to be able to change that if we wanted to. And so I'm suggesting we actually bring that asset limit up to $500,000. By the way, the state doesn't have an asset limit.
No.
It's just the house, right? It's pretty straight ahead. So the asset limit we built in as a fail-safe, as a tax aid committee. We just wanted to kind of just start there and see what happened. But I think based on experience, with only 5% of the people who got our match, I think we should be going a little bit higher than 275. So I'm suggesting we change that to 500,000 and see how it goes for the next year.
And that changed, is it, how did we, I forget how we implemented the parameters. Was it through town meeting?
It's not
It's not specified in the legislation.
It's not in the home rule petition.
No.
But we did go to town.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I'm trying to think where we set the limits and how we voted on it. Yes, Ms. Carbone, did we do it?
So that was, yes, the parameters were set forth at town meeting June of *24 on exactly what the qualifications would be. It was in all our pamphlets too, but no, it was at town meeting. It is not in the home rule petition.
Right.
It was at town meeting. You are correct.
So we'd have to wait for the next town meeting in order to get it changed?
I don't want to answer
Yeah,
that
I'm
without
not
knowing 100%.
I'm not sure if in the motion at town meeting, I think in the pitch to town meeting, we had the parameters. In other words, we gave the parameters as to what the program would be and how it was set. So
That's all.
I think it may be that the board may have the discretion to,
That was in there. We said that, we said in 3 years we could review the program. That's what we said on the slide.
right,
Doesn't mean we couldn't do it sooner, but that's what we said.
right.
So you actually, this time next year, when I'm here, you will be voting on whether you're doing 50% or what percentage you want to do. Right now, we're doing 50%. So next year,
No,
this
I'm
time.
talking about the asset limits.
We're just talking about that.
So, I don't know if the asset limits have, I don't know,
All
like,
Okay,
and
so,
I really would rather make a phone call right to the source to know, to
Yeah.
do it right, Steve.
right, no,
That's-
I think the board would like to know, how much discretion do we have to exercise
Mhm.
under the legislation that was passed and what was passed at town meeting. And then what would be required to make a change. And again, part of the response, the low response too, and again, I've talked to some of my own clients whom I've encouraged to come forward, and part of it's pride, and they just were reluctant to do so. Well, how much is it gonna save me? It's gonna save you several $100s, It wasn't worth it to them, even though they would be eligible and it would mean something to them. Part of it is pride. Part of it is what they think might be aggravation associated with trying to get through the process, which I think you've made it extremely easy for people, and for those that went through it, and some people that I've talked to were greatly appreciative, and that, it really wasn't a stretch, wasn't hard to get through the process. So I think more people will catch on. I think maybe the asset limits need to be looked at, but we need to get the answers for that too.
Yes, I really want to make sure we're doing it correctly.
But I don't
We've come
disagree.
so
I
far.
think we did a very good job, your
you.
office and the board and everybody else, in getting the word out that this, if you qualify for this, you're eligible for that. You may be eligible for this, and I had some people call me and say, hey, am I eligible for this? And I say yes or no. But, yeah, Mr. Studo.
So, and I think when we had that discussion, I can see to get more, but we just have to be careful with these limits. Because it's a zero-sum game, and there's people right now who can't even, buy food. And to give somebody who has a house and 500,000 an exemption, I mean, that's, I don't know how you can justify that with a straight face.
No, but
I
you have to
mean,
keep in mind, that these people also, they may have $500,000, but, chances are they're older people who are looking at, what is their care gonna be required at the time? What's the $500,000 gonna go for? They're not necessarily saving it for their kids' inheritance. They're being concerned about healthcare needs moving forward and what their coverage is and what they have to do. Again, I have a lot of people that I deal with that have some assets like that, but their income is extremely low. They have Social Security, maybe a small pension or some 401k thing that, it's thrown off a little bit. But if they qualify for the circuit breaker, they don't make a lot of money. They don't have a lot of income coming in. They may have saved all their life and been good savers, but the biggest asset is their home. And they've been here for a long time, most of them.
Well, the home, we're talking about separate from the home.
I know.
That's
I
what
know.
I mean, though.
I know.
So,
And again, I'm always in awe when I do people's taxes and talk to them, consult with them. And people who were not significantly large wage earners, how they were able to save and how much they were able to save. And again, they're very frugal.
Yeah.
A lot of people live frugally, and I encourage them to spend their money. But
and also, though, there's also another theory that, and it's an unpopular one. North Reading is getting wealthier by the year, and that's a fact. And I think that people don't want to talk about that. No one wants to talk about that. And so I think that in general, I do agree. I think there's a lot of people over 250. I think there's a lot of people over 500. And I think that, in general, it seems that, and I've talked to a lot of people as well, that there's just there's multiple definitions of wealth, but for any sort of government benefit kind of qualification, I think I think people are very well off as well. I just think that, again, when we had that discussion, we didn't just want to go so high because, and I see what you're saying, it's a saver, but how you got to your number doesn't justify if you should qualify. You know, for example, if I have $3 million in Massachusetts, right, and my exemption in the estate tax is $2 million, right, that other million is still going to get taxed, irrespective if I make $250,000 a year or $1,000 a year. So I think, like, that's the thing. I just think we have to be careful about picking winners, saying that if you have a lot of assets but no income, we'll give you $750 so you can go to a Patriots game by yourself. But if you have, same thing though, same idea, if you only have $250 but have a huge FERS government pension and you were ATF and you make $100,000 a year, right? Well, that's different. You have income, so we're not really interested in helping you. So I'm just saying
And
that's
you don't
what-
qualify for the circuit breaker.
correct. But that's what I'm saying. I think asset should matter, and I think that when we had the discussion, again, it's a bigger discussion, right? I'm not saying that it shouldn't be warranted, but I think when we looked at it, again, it came to whether or not you're having issues with taxes and affording your home. The fact that you still have $1 million asset, I mean, you can't have it both
Yeah,
ways.
but what we're hearing from a lot of people is that you're forcing me out of my home. In other words, I'm going to be paying close to $1,000 a month for the privilege of living in the town of North Reading on an average assessed value home. That's a lot of money. $12,000 in tax, $1,000 a month, whether you have a mortgage or you don't. Maintenance, upkeep, again, utilities and all the rest. And you're over 65 and you qualify for the circuit breaker, so you have limited income to pay your bills. It's significant, and yeah, sure, the community's getting more affluent, there's no doubt about it. And what I've found is that the newer members of the community are more than willing to take on more of a share for a smaller group of people. And again, what was it? $8.84 increase in order to cover 28 people. You know, people are compassionate
I
and willing
agree.
to do that
I
because
agree
it's not
with you,
going to make a
Mr. O'Leary.
significant difference in their life, whereas the break
Yep.
does to other people.
I agree with you, but those same people, right, mostly educated, you start telling them that, hey, by the way, that person has a $1.2 million house and $500,000 in investment accounts, but they only have Social Security, so we're gonna cut them a break, they're gonna laugh at you. Or they're just gonna laugh about
Right,
it.
and the spouses in assisted living paying $105,000 a year to live there because they don't qualify for Medicaid, you know, and it's costing them over $100,000 a year for assisted living.
Well, then they're not gonna be at that limit really quick. and then
No,
for many
but
years
what's gonna
that
happen
happens.
is, you know, unfortunately, the state allows them to, the surviving spouse to stay in their home for a while,
Mhm.
you know, and not be displaced. But the other spouses in assisted living are.
And again, I mean, there's-
No, I know, there
I
are
just
all
think
sorts of
500 is a
circumstances,
big
but we're
number.
talking about a total of 400 people that have qualified in the town of North Reading. It's not a significant, and we've had less than 5% that came in. So we need to just, you know, look at it. And again, that's for another night, another discussion.
Oh,
Yep,
Just
Mr. Waller.
one passing thought. It's also fiscally responsible because when the seniors move out, they get replaced with families that bring in kids. And that starts to really mess up your taxes. So to me, it's like you're keeping them in town because 2/3 of their taxes goes to pay for the schools. But if they move out, that cycle goes back a whole different way. So you really want to keep your seniors in town and you want to give them reasons to stay, not have them leave because their assets are starting to go down. And wait till they're hitting 275. 275 isn't that much if you really think about it.
I don't think anyone's trying to, and I get that push out, but also, there's two sides of the coin. As you know, there are neighborhoods here getting posted up. Some have no kids moving into $2.5 million homes. They're gonna have a $33,000 tax bill with no kid in the school system. I know it for a fact, because they're 55 years old. So I'm saying, there's a lot of those moving, it's just saying that it's not, there's a lot of money flowing in, and I'm saying, I agree with Mr. O'Leary that people are willing to help, but you have to make an argument, and making an argument that someone is, hey, they have the assets, but they don't have the income. It just, again, it's a lot easier to help somebody, it's a lot easier for many people in this community to cut a check for SNAP benefits versus, they got how much in an IRA? Like, you kidding me? I'm just,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. But again, you know, you're only getting a 5% response rate. What's up?
Yeah.
You know, so anyway, but we think that's for another night, another discussion. And Deb, thank you for allowing us to be sidetracked.
Not a
sorry about that.
So the next slide is just showing you the second line in red is where I attempted to do the shift just so that we could match the tax rate up. So here it shows you on that .01 that the residential will be 1302, but the commercial would end up going up to 1315. If we let it ride the way it is meant to ride in Gateway, it'll be 1302.
Any member of the public have any questions, comments, concerns, ideas? Ms. Mullen?
No, I want to thank you for all the slides that you walk through slowly like that. The questions that you get always, everybody say, why don't they raise the commercial? And you try to explain it and understand it, but I think you answer every question that they have. So if anybody gets calls, selected or whatever, tell them to send them the sheet because you did an excellent job explaining to them.
Thank you, Rita.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comment, public comments? Mr. Gilberto, anybody online?
Not seeing any, nope.
So the next slides are just the exemptions, which I would like to report. While we were really advertising and educating the public on the senior needs, we did actually have a couple that qualified for some of the exemptions that they didn't even know existed. So having that dialogue gave us the opportunity to see if they qualified for anything else. So we did manage to qualify a couple of more. I'm not gonna really read through all these. The assets change. This is on the clause 17E. That is given to us by the state. The clause 37A, that amount has been that amount for as long as I can remember, and that's given to us by the state also. The 41D, that's an income asset given by the state. I do want to take one quick moment and talk about this clause 41A. I talk about it every year. And I hear what you say, Mr. O'Leary, when they say it's a lot of pride. Because this 41A tax deferral, they can, if we have a resident or residents that want to come in and talk about this, I'll bring you in my office and we'll talk about it. Because they don't have to defer all their taxes. They can defer up to, if they're comfortable paying $6,000 and their tax bill's 10, they can defer $4,000. Yes, that does come with an interest rate. Yes, because the town has to retrieve the funds that have been held up for whatever number of years. And it does, we do put a lien on the property, but that's not scary. The lien goes away when it's settled. You know, I hear a lot, well, I want to leave it for my kids. Well, that's, you know, I always say, you don't have to defer the whole 10,000. Defer what you're comfortable living because you should be living comfortably. That's my response. So I'm not going to digress any further on now.
What's the current interest rate? What's the current?
It's 8.
Yeah, I know, that's what makes it onerous. That's what makes it onerous, 8%, you know, as people defer their real estate taxes because of cash flow issues, and you're gonna charge them 8%. And again, you know, they're either gonna sell their home and settle up, you know, or they'll pass away and the estate will settle it. But that's still pretty onerous. And again, I don't know, is that statutorily, or can we establish something?
They changed that, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
thought so.
They changed that like 6 years ago or something, where it's local now.
Yeah. We saw that. Towns have lower rates. We were high. We should change that.
I can tell you, we had one applicant in 2010 through 2011, and we've never had another application. And I talk about this all the time.
And by the way, it's also cheaper than a reverse mortgage, even at 8%.
Thank you, I was gonna say that.
But anyway, it's still
Safer
pretty,
too.
it's safer too, correct,
Safer too.
right.
So can we explore changing the rate from 8% to 5%?
That doesn't actually fall under my purview, that falls under the treasurer. But, you know, we work really closely.
I know you did, yeah. All right.
That's the end of my show, or slideshow, or written that. I do want to remind all my commercial and industrial properties that have not returned their income and expense forms that were mailed out the month of February of 2025, and we're due in usually around corporate tax time. We try to make it convenient. If you have not returned it, I will give you the opportunity until Wednesday, November 5th. After that, we have to close that gate because we've got to get the tax file done. If you choose not to return it, you will see a lien of $250 on your tax bill.
How do we increase that amount?
Yeah, we talked
We
Because
can't,
we can't,
that's
So-
maxed.
that's legislated? Well, we should,
Boy, it's cheaper than.
well,
cheaper not to
it's
file.
cheaper not to
It's
respond.
250.
So, and I think last year we
Can't
had the
fund it.
same conversation where we were going to ask Representative Jones and Senator Tarr to
Yeah.
file legislation to levy $1,000, I think, whatever it was going to be, and I don't know where it went. But
Oh,
let's
that's
talk,
right.
let's talk about it again.
I believe it was a letter we sent.
Yeah, we did
I
say
don't know if we asked for legislation.
What
we
is the
sent a letter.
percentage of people that actually file appropriately?
You know, we send them out every single year. So some communities will only send them out on a reval year. I choose not to because I look at my CIP every year and their values. So that being said, our return is usually around 77, 78, which is actually very good.
That is good.
Can you give it a best guess, though, based upon your knowledge as far as what square footage is and what the rate is and whether they're occupied or not? And then if you give it your best guess and you happen to overestimate, they might want to comply.
So that would go against my oath.
If you go against your oath, oh, I don't want you to do that. But again, if the assessors could make a determination based upon a lack of response, generally you can extract a response.
I usually knock on their door.
Yeah. All right, so, and again, maybe we should resurrect the letter we sent last year to our legislators and ask them to revisit it.
Yep.
That consensus, Mr. Studo?
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
Tomorrow? All right, Michael, if we could, that'd be great. All right, any other public comment in relation to tax classification hearing this evening? None in the room, none online? Correct.
Not seeing any.
Not seeing any online. Okay, so we'll close the public
You
input.
can take your vote.
Right, we're going to close the public portion of the input.
Steve
Public.
knows I'm not leaving without.
Yeah. So we're going to close the public input portion of the tax classification hearing, and the board will now deliberate and consider several motions. All right. And
SMS is in the back. Okay. He's not here.
Yep, it's coming back.
Oh, he's right there.
Okay. All right, so we've closed the public input portion, and we're going to be considering some motions and deliberating. Mrs. Morrow.
Public hearing, fiscal year 2026 tax classification. Mr. Chairman, I move to select minimum residential factor of 1.0 as recommended by the Board of Assessors.
Second?
Second by Mr. Massey. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Unanimous. Mrs. Morrow.
Mr. Chairman, I move not to establish a residential exemption.
Second?
Motion made by Mrs. Morris, seconded by Mr. Massey. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I move not to establish a commercial exemption.
Second?
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Massey. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I move not to establish an open space exemption.
Second?
Motion made by Mrs. Morris, seconded by Mr. Massey. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Unanimous.
And, Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend the 2026 property tax levy at $68,137,087, which is $48,454,014 less than the levy limit.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Just to let people know, we're not taxing to the max. Right?
That's right.
All right. So, any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And those opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I move to recommend to the Board of Assessors that the fiscal year 2026 proposed tax rate be set at $13.02 for residential and $13.01 for commercial, industrial, and personal property per 1,000 evaluation.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 And those opposed? Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, through you,
Yes.
just because I'm thinking about reporting out the outcome of tonight's meeting, to be clear for everybody, the difference in the two rates is entirely attributed to the Department of Revenue Division of Local Services software and the way they process the values and the assignment of the value from the senior means program. So somewhere within those rates is a half a penny differential that you notice doesn't cause, the baseline without the senior means was 1302. When you implement the senior means, what it actually did was drive down the rate for industrial, commercial, industrial, and personal property, and that's entirely driven by a state software program that we're required to use to set the tax rate and report it to the Department of Revenue. Because I'm sure people are going to see that and ask questions. That's entirely what's driving it. Correct?
100%.
Okay.
And I wish you the best of luck in trying to explain that to people. Yes.
Because you know it's coming.
And getting it, you can explain it, but getting them to understand it, that's good.
So the way Gateway, once we get through the tax rate process tomorrow morning, how they've changed the reporting for the page one, there's going to be a dollar amount, if you will, that is representative of that shift. So we're not there yet, and that's the thing. We wish they had like a test environment or a train environment where you could go in there and put your data in there and get to that number so that when I'm sitting here, I could have had that number. And there's no way to do it.
And there's no
There's
suggestion
no
box there either, right?
Yeah.
There's no suggestion box to put that, no, okay.
Exactly. I'm gonna
Deb,
try that.
to you and your staff, thank you very much for all that you do, all that you've done, all that you do, and all you continue to do for us. We greatly appreciate it and appreciate your time coming here tonight and giving us clarity.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thanks,
My
Deb.
pleasure.
Thank
And
you.
did we do everything you were expecting us to do? We're all set?
Oh, I have the notes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now, what do we have here? Transition to North Shore Regional 911, updates from the fire and police chiefs. Thank you for sticking with us.
Should have put this at the top.
Okay,
I could do just a brief introduction, and then I'll turn it over to the chiefs, if that's okay?
that'd be terrific.
So just by way of a brief introduction, we've been talking on and off for the past few years with regard to the towns joining the North Shore Regional 911 Center, which is operated in Middleton. It's a state department with a division that operates in Middleton, servicing the North Shore area, including a number of communities in our area. And this goes back multiple years of planning, and we're coming upon the transition date later this month in November, and we'll talk more about the timelines. There'll be a transition that will occur, and we felt, we've been talking a lot about this in different forums, but it was appropriate to sort of bring it to the forefront now, ahead of the actual transition taking place, and talking about some of the things that we're looking at that will follow that transition as well. So I will turn it over to the fire chief, I think, to start, and he's joined by Chief Zimmerman. Both gentlemen have been working very hard with their respective staffs in terms of making sure that we're prepared for this transition, and that has included on-site discussions and providing tours to folks who are at the Regional 911 Center here in town. I think both departments have been doing that. So trying to really get folks to familiarize themselves and understand the community. So I just want to recognize there's a lot of work that's been going on, maybe quietly in the background, not just by the chiefs, but by all of the folks in the police and fire department to prepare for this transition. So I'll turn it over to the fire chief, though.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and just before you start, Chief, I also want to acknowledge the union's cooperation through the last two negotiation sessions in order to bring this to fruition. Again, we didn't know what the dates were going to be, but we felt it was important to bring it to the negotiating table 2 contracts ago and this past contract, and they've been working very cooperatively with us to bring this to fruition. So, thank you. So, Chief Stats.
Excellent. Well, thank you for saying that, and good evening, Mr. Chair, Mr. Board, and Mr. Gilberto. So Chief Zimmerman and I are here, as the town administrator pointed out, just to give you and the community a brief overview on the upcoming transition of public safety to regional dispatch at North Shore Regional Emergency Communications Center in Middleton, Massachusetts. The slated date of that transition right now is going to be November 17th. So just as an overview, for the community members who are watching that might not understand, is why are we transitioning? So what's the need? So dispatching in itself is a profession, and the advancement of the technology of calls for full-time personnel who are dedicated to answering calls and providing support to staff in the field. And while our current structure works, it's not nearly as efficient as people who do this every day. They're much more efficient and proficient at it. And right now, between the police department and fire department, our personnel might see dispatch once a month, roughly, on shift. Entering calls in a high-stress environment, dispatching personnel, logging the information, and providing support to staff needs experienced personnel, which comes from doing the actual function. This will affect the police department by having dedicated civilian dispatchers relieves police officers from the responsibility of handling 911 calls and potentially reallocating them to additional community responsibilities. And in the fire department, having a dedicated civilian dispatcher will enable additional firefighters to be in the field more as well and provide the community with better service. It allows both departments to meet the needs of the community as North Reading continues to grow. And as a point of reference, all of our contiguous communities around us have some form of civilian dispatch, whether it's in-house or whether it's through a regional program.
Good evening. So I'm just going to touch on the history. Like the town administrator said, this research has gone back since 2018 to my predecessor, Chief Murphy, was in the seat when this all started back in 2018. 2022, there was a letter of intent signed for the regional to pursue feasibility study. And that feasibility study that they had to take on is we're going to be the second busiest, largest community that the regional has, Amesbury being the busiest on the police side, at least for the calls of service. And so part of their feasibility studies, they had to make sure that they were had the ability to take us on and provide the service that we needed, which I've come to find out, including hiring several telecommunicators just to make sure they had the personnel to handle us. So that's part of what the feasibility study was, and the infrastructure to take us on. So they completed that in June of 22, and it was presented to the select board at that time. And then March of 2023, the select board voted to pursue the onboarding with the regional. June of 23, the state 911 approved North Reading inclusion pending the select board approval. And then in December 2023, the IMA was signed by the town of North Reading. So that's a brief history of how far back this goes. But as the town administrator said, and Chief Stats, there's been a lot of meetings going through there, and they were there today, still getting some of the infrastructure ready so that we're able to go in a couple of weeks. And we're very confident that we will be able to and ready to go. But it's been, I would say the last few months, it's been daily communication. And I'll just speak for the police side. Lieutenant Thibodeau has handled most of it because a lot of it's the IT stuff, and I don't really understand it like he does. And so he's been handling, talking to them on a daily basis to make sure that we're all up and running. And I know Chief Stats has his staff that's been handling it on their side.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. So there's been a lot of behind-the-scenes work that's been going on over the last year, as everybody's pointed out. As the TA and Mr. O'Leary pointed out, tremendous kudos to our staffs for taking this on and all the background work, as Chief Zimmerman pointed out. But I'd really like to recognize the rec too, because they've really worked in partnership in unison with us in making all this happen, and really truly been a partner of the community throughout this. So as we transition, how will this impact North Reading Fire Department? What kind of changes are we going to see? So North Reading Fire will no longer be a secondary PSAP or public safety answering point in the 911 system. That'll be taken over and handled by regional. The emergency medical dispatch, which we currently do, which basically gives pre-arrival instructions if you're having a medical emergency by our dispatchers to you or somebody in the community calling for service, will now be handled by North Shore Regional. All business and emergency telephone calls and emergency dispatch responsibilities will also be handled by the regional. What this does for us is that this allows 4 firefighters on the fire department, 1 on each shift, to now be free to actually function as firefighters and not dispatchers, with a rough economic, I'll call it savings or reallocation of $400,000. So we already We already have those existing firefighters. We don't have to hire them. They're already there, and now they can provide that service to the community. The fire department can be unmanned or locked when all companies or personnel are out of the station. If we're all responding to calls or out in the community, the front door will remain locked. Walk-ins will be handled by North Shore Regional via an intercom and closed-circuit television system when that does occur. So if a community member walks up to the door and finds it locked, there will be a closed-circuit television and a push button on the outside of the door, which will immediately ring regional, and they will respond to that individual on the outside of the building. Contact phone numbers for the fire department will remain unchanged. They'll be the same.
Meaning if they want to get hold of you or somebody else.
Correct.
So I'll speak to the police impact. So right now, we're the primary PSAP, which means all 911 calls come into us initially, and then we transfer them either to the fire department or to another community. So we'll no longer have that responsibility, so we won't have the 911 equipment in the station any longer because we won't have the responsibility to answer any of those calls. All our business and emergency telephone calls and emergency dispatch responsibilities will go up to the regional, and they'll handle all of those. Right now, we have supervisors and patrol officers who work the desk and do dispatch duties. The supervisors will no longer have that responsibility to dispatch and answer calls, answer the telephone. As with the fire department, walk-ins will be handled by the rec if the department goes, we call it dark, but if the doors are locked and there's no police officers in the station, then it would be handled the same way. There'll be an intercom in our vestibule that's currently there that will be activated when somebody walks in. They'll speak to a telecommunicator. We'll ask them how can they help. If they need to see a police officer, then the regional will dispatch one of our officers back to the station to help them. We are working on some other safety measures to have the outside door have the ability to be locked if somebody comes in there and needs to be safe in that vestibule, to have them the ability to hit a button that would lock that back door so nobody could come in behind them. So we're working with facilities to get that all up and running. It also gives us the potential to reallocate officers for an additional school resource officer and detective. And as with the fire department, all our contact phone numbers will remain unchanged. So any of the community residents or anybody that wants to call the business line, the 3131 number, will still call those. They'll go up to the regional, and then they will either send it down to us or they'll handle it and dispatch somebody out. So any questions on that? Or, okay.
Mr. Massey?
Chief, just curious, if those intercom systems were to go down for either fire or police, would the repairs be on the regional, or would the repairs be on the town?
On regional.
On regional? Okay. I figured they're responsible for the equipment, but.
Yeah, so any infrastructure and costs associated with that has anything to do with contacting regional is on regional.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The additional stuff, we're putting cameras in there for us that be able to monitor, and that secondary emergency button would be on the town, but any of the intercom, like the chief said, would be on them.
Thank you.
Is this me? Oh. So the core services. So we answer emergency 911 calls. All the emergency 911 calls come into the police station, but those will now be transferred up to regional. As the fire chief said, the emergency medical dispatch, they'll handle our business lines. They monitor. Do you remember the exact number? Is it like 6 or 7 telecommunicators they have at one time? And some are dedicated to fire, some are dedicated to police. So they'll be monitoring all our mutual aid radio frequencies. and they can provide assistance to us if we need be. They'll dispatch the police, fire, ambulance resources, including any mutual aid that we need or have. They'll also make the emergency notifications that we currently do to the utility companies, the DPW, animal control, or any of that. So we provided them all those phone numbers, emergency contact numbers that we have, and so they'll make all those phone calls for us. They'll do the CJIS criminal record inquiries for us, you know, so if we have a motor vehicle stop, they'll run the license plate, give our officers all the information that they need, any incident involvements, and they enter, we're gonna have the same record management system that they have, so they'll load all our calls into our CAD system for us. We'll still have the ability on the police side, and I assume on the fire side, that our officers can still enter calls on their laptops like they do now. Currently, our officers, if they do building checks, they log them from their computer, their cruiser. We'll still continue to do that, but regional will be able to see it because they'll on their board, they'll see what officers are working, and depending on what their call is, it changes. If it's green, the officer's name is green, that means that they're available for a call. If it's yellow, that means they're responding to a call, and if it's red, that means it's out at a call. So if a call comes in, they look up at the board to see what officer is available in what sector, and then they dispatch that way. So it will be all interconnected with us. Am I still going? All right. So any warrants, missing persons, administrative messages that we currently enter from dispatch, they'll take care of all that. They'll be the administrator for our CAD system, computer-aided dispatch system, all the statistics, automatic text, email, fire pages, they'll handle on that side. As with like the utility companies that we talked about, whether it's Reading Light, DPW, they'll also notify the tow companies for us. They'll monitor and initiate various incident computer software systems. As we talked about, the lobby interactions will be intercom and closed caption TV. Monitor fire alarms for Middleton, Wenham, and North Reading, and emergency incident notification systems. And they'll pretty much do what we want them to do, like at least for the police side. We're still gonna control what happens, who goes to calls, who doesn't go to calls, meaning if they dispatch one of our officers and we want to send a second officer and they don't, our supervisors can certainly do that, or any officer can also. So we're not losing control of how we police or what we send to calls, who we don't send to calls, how we handle them. That is all staying internally with us. They have their protocols and procedures that they do, but ultimately through the whole process, and like the chief said, they've been great. We still are going to maintain all of that. So as far as our officers responding to calls, the community won't see a difference, because it's still going to be how we handle it and how our practices are now.
I just have a quick question or two. In relation to, you know, in the middle of the night or something, or mutual aid, chiefs usually make the call. If someone at the desk isn't getting the call, how is it being communicated with you from the regional? Or is it being communicated to the supervisor in charge on the shift, who then in turn contacts the chief to make these calls as far as mutual aid or additional personnel? Or
So I think we might be talking about two different things. So
Probably.
mutual aid is something that happens immediately. Like if there's a major car accident or some other major call and we don't have enough personnel on duty at the time to handle that call, the supervisor or the officer in charge of the station at that time can call mutual aid like Reading, Wilmington, Linfield, whoever, to come in an emergency situation. And again, just speaking for the law enforcement, and Chief Stats can speak for the fire, but where those calls that wouldn't have to come from the chief is for like a NEMLEC call out, like a major, like if we had a barricaded subject or something where we were calling out NEMLEC resources. And for the public, NEMLIC stands for Northeastern Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council. It's a consortium of 62 communities in this area that we're part of, and that includes a SWAT team, rapid response team, a drone unit, critical incident stress management, IMAT. So any of those resources that would have to come from NEMLEC would have to be requested through the chief of police. So those types of calls would go to the officer in charge. They would contact me, and then I have to contact the control commander for that unit and request their assistance. So I don't know if that
And
answers.
then somewhat, and then conversely, if we're going to be providing mutual aid in those types of situations, in the fire, or even ambulance backup, which happens too
Yeah.
often.
Yes.
Is there a potential for breakdown in communication?
On our side, I don't think so. So if, say, for instance, Reading needed help or mutual aid, they would call, and if they call regional, like if they.
Call, and it would go to regional.
Yeah, it would go to regional, like it would come to our desk, and then regional would call the officer who's in charge, who's working that night, and say, Reading has an accident on Main Street, they're looking for you to close Main Street at, Lobster Claw. And then we would go down, and that's how it would be handled. So that's how the communication would go in that. So really, if you think about it, in that situation right now, the way it works, Reading would call the 3131 number, say, and a police officer at our station would handle the call, they'd take it, and then they would dispatch one of their officers out to that scene. How it's gonna work now is regional will get that call our officer in charge over the radio, and say Reading's requesting one officer at 28 in Park. And then the supervisor will send an officer down to handle that.
Yeah, it's similar for the fire department, and as Chief Zimmerman said, they're given parameters, they're given guidelines to run by. For us, it's called running cards, especially for our fire apparatus, where there's pre-designated towns that come into North Reading for mutual aid, and they have all that. The same way that we're on running cards for other towns, they have those too. So we get dispatched automatically that way. As far as callback or personnel coming to the station, they have guidelines to follow, but our supervisors are entrenched in all of that. So they will make the determination if that's allowed, if it's not allowed, if they're tied up on something else that regional's not aware of. So they're entrenched in all of its decision-making, but regional has the guidelines to dispatch that out. Does that answer your question, Mr. O'Leary?
Pretty much, thank you, yep.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. So just to summarize, to the community and to the board, our emergency phone numbers, which should be ingrained in everybody's thought process right now, 911 remains unchanged. Call 911 for police and fire all day long. All of our business numbers are unchanged. All fire and police phone calls are answered and dispatched by the REC. The REC will perform, emergency medical dispatch that I've already described. The fire and police departments may be unmanned and locked at times due to calls for service to the community. And civilian walk-ins will be handled by the REC via the intercom and closed-circuit television when the departments are unmanned. So this allows us for opportunities for improvement in resource allocation to the community for both fire and police by getting people that used to be dispatching out serving the public, doing what they really signed up for, which is their fire and police duties.
Mr. Gilberto?
Just a follow-up question with regard to people dialing 911. Could you just talk about cell phones and how that works?
Sure. So cell phones, depending on where they're dialing it from, will go to regional dispatch. Regional dispatch has their main dispatching pod, but they also have a cellular answering pod right next to their main dispatching pod, and that's handled separately. And that cell dispatching pod will send that call to the appropriate town or community or wherever they're geolocated at. Like I said earlier in the presentation, there is so much technology today in the professional dispatch industry, you really need professional dispatchers who do this day in and day out to do this job. Because we don't have that capability, and they do.
In the cost associated with the regional dispatch, Mr. Gilberto, might want to reiterate, our chief, reiterate again.
For the chiefs.
For the chiefs, yep.
I have some figures from years ago when we were doing it, but when we looked at different options as far as civilian dispatches to keep it internally in the station, and I'd have to find them, my print is so small, but it was very
Roughly $1 million.
Yeah, and
to run an in-house program, and there is no cost for us going to North Shore Regional.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the financial implication is, as a primary and secondary answering point, we receive state grants to pay for the services, so they're not paying for the personnel, they're paying for the training of the personnel, they're paying for the equipment in the station.
Correct.
We'll no longer receive that grant funding. That funding will go to the Regional 911. But in terms of any direct costs that we need to pay out, there's none. So, and that's a huge advantage for us to be able to reallocate resources in the future as we see fit.
Yeah, as part of the history, as Chief Zimmerman alluded to, back in 2018, the vetting process started with an in-house program versus a regional program. And as we walked that path and learned more figures and facts, it became pretty clear and apparent that through the improvements to the North Shore Regional, when State 911 took it over, they've done nothing but improved and become more and more professional. They were pretty, I won't say pretty, they were a very good service. And it became apparent that that's the direction that we should go in for the community.
And Mrs. Moran, you made a visit?
We did, and it was a very impressive operation. Like, from what I recall, you need to be in training for about 6 months.
6 months.
Before you're even allowed to be near the phone, and then while you're in sort of a training probation mode, you always have someone who's trained to be answering the phones with you at all times. There's a supervisor who can provide additional support. And correct me if I'm wrong, the folks from regional have visited both police and fire and went with 2 different calls to learn our local, what people in town refer to different landmarks. So, if you call and say, I'm at the senior center, people but 911 will know what that refers to as a street address. So they've learned the local nomenclature and the local customs and what the best way to get to a place. So that's, I think, an important thing to know, that these people are not just looking at the map from Google Maps. They've gotten the training with their local staff who know the town.
So they have had and embedded dispatchers with both police and fire last month and currently in this month, including today. So they have their people ride with both of our departments so that, as to Ms. Moran's point, they can learn the idiosyncrasies that North Reading has. Similar or confusing areas, such as an easy one is Virginia Road. So we have 2, well, we really have 1 Virginia Road, but we respond to 2. And they're on completely opposite sides of the town. One's behind Martin's Pond, which is technically in Wilmington, but is first due for us. And one is off of Bigham Road. So you couldn't get further apart. So it's important that they see that. They've heard about this all in training. We've had our own staff up there when they're holding training events for North Reading specific training. And it's been a very good process, very professional.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Could we just talk about the timing? Because I know it's coming upon us, but if there's any more
Sure.
detail you want to provide as to when the public should expect that the phone calls begin to be answered by Regional 911. And then there's other transitions that will happen probably after that, right, with regard to personnel and how they're assigned in the future.
Sure. So the transition for us to go to regional will happen the week of November 17th. Right now, barring any unforeseen hiccups or bumps in the road. During that time frame, I think both of our staffs plan to keep the dispatcher in each of our respective departments for that week to 2 weeks of transition, just to make sure that there aren't anything that we're going to miss or lose. And I think it's just a safety factor for both of our departments. I know that's what I plan to do. At that point, during that week, the public really shouldn't notice anything ideally. When they call 911 or they call a business line, they're going to get answered by a professional telecommunicator, and they will get one of us, our members of our department, to talk to them or to respond.
Now, I would just say, as far as, for us, we'll still have a police officer in the station, unless we lock the doors, or, as the chief said, it calls for service, but we need 4 officers. But the plan, right now is that if the doors to the police station are open, there'll be still a police officer in there. And it's just, part of the reasoning behind that was, we looked at the number of walk-ins that we handle on a daily basis, and then there's officers that have to do arrest reports and other reports that they have to do, so there'll be an officer in the station if the door is open. There will not be, if we make the decision to lock the door, then there'll be no officer in the station, and that's when the closed caption intercom system will be in effect.
Chief, during the budgetary process this past year, we talked about potentially closing the station from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m.?
1 a.m. to 6 a.m., correct.
Is that still the plan?
That is still the current plan. When it's going to be implemented, I don't have an exact date. It depends on some manpower issues that we're currently having. And when we have that infrastructure that I talked about, as far as the emergency locks on the doors, that if somebody comes into the station, that they'll be able to lock the door behind them to get the cameras up and running. It won't be happening November 17th. When we go to regional, our calls will be going there, but we will not be unmanning or locking the doors of the police station November 17th. Obviously, stay in communication with the town administrator and the select board in the community to let them know when this will actually take place. It will not be November 17th, but I don't have an exact date because there's issues going that we have to work through as far as manpower and other issues that we're still working through. But the long answer to your question is that, yes, that still is ultimately the plan.
Board members, any other questions, concerns?
No, just want to thank you guys and your staffs too, obviously, for the coordination with regional. I think that's probably a lot of stuff happens in the background. You guys mentioned daily communication, so definitely thanks to you guys as well, and gals.
Yeah, and as chief stats, they've been great as far as, I know the select board was invited up there. They invited us. We sit on the school safety committee, and I believe that's safety committee. I talked to Superintendent Daly in our next meeting in December that they're going to be going up there and having that meeting up there, just so, because we've been in communication with them as far as what's going to happen, so they're aware of it. And so I think they're going to go up there and take a tour of the facility and actually have the monthly meeting up there. So they're on board with it and aware of it.
As well as our staff meetings. We've held several staff meetings up there just to get our own officers used to regional, see names with faces, and very supportive. And what's even more refreshing in a way is that they want to become entrenched in North Reading. They want to know when we're having community events so they can come down and be a part of it. They don't want to just kind of be behind the door, for lack of a better way of saying it. They want to be part of the community, which is nice.
The turkey trot.
Yeah, exactly.
They were at National Night Out. They had a table this year. So those are, I think, some of the things we can expect.
Well, again, this is a big move for our community, and again, it's been in the works for several years now. And, you know, as people get concerned about budgets and get concerned about, you know, efficiencies, this was one big step from the public safety standpoint that the board took several years ago, and again, took several years to implement here now, where it actually frees up, you know, more officers and more firefighters and more ambulance services to respond in a time of need, instead of having someone saddled in the chair and not being able to respond and do what they've been trained to do, truly, rather than answer the phones and dispatch people. So it's a big step. It's a different transition for us. yourselves and your staff have done a marvelous job of allowing us to transition smoothly. And I think the communication to the public has been very good, and I think tonight is very helpful. And again, we look forward to, again, being able to service the public better and more efficiently and more cost-effectively by transitioning to this. And again, to the rank and file members of both departments, we appreciate their input and their cooperation and their assistance in bringing us to fruition. So, done a terrific job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for hanging around.
I learned a lot.
You learned a lot.
I read the transcript and see one tax rate, now I know what it means.
Whenever you think something's gonna go fast, it never does either.
Have a good night.
Yeah,
Thanks,
nice.
Chief.
All right, Mr. Gilberto, Medicare health insurance plans.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, at the last meeting, I think I reported that we were exploring a possible alternative to our existing Blue Cross Blue Shield Medicare insurance plan being proposed by Mass General Brigham, which is currently providing our active employee plan. However, since that meeting, we've had some conversation with them, and they are not in a position to offer us a proposal for the upcoming calendar year, beginning January 1st. So we had a little bit of negotiation with Blue Cross Blue Shield on the part of Hub and Tony Maffio, who represents our interest, and we were able to get a slight reduction in the renewal premium, which will unfortunately be a 16% premium increase for the period beginning January 1st. And again, for those who don't know, we have 338 subscribers on that plan, and the premium is generally allocated 50-50 between the town and the subscriber. These are mostly retirees who, again, are Medicare eligible, and our share, again, of the premium is about 50%. So after some brief discussion, we are recommending that the board vote to approve this plan for the upcoming calendar year. This is after a few years of much lower renewal rates that we've experienced. So this is higher than we've seen, but there is an offset that we've seen in previous years where it being much lower. We do feel there's a sufficient buffer in this current fiscal year's health insurance appropriation to be able to cover the cost for the first 6 months of the calendar year. And I believe a motion's in the packet.
16.5% is significant.
It's a lot of money.
It is. So it ended up being 16% when they, through the negotiation, they reduced it.
16% is a
Yes.
significant increase.
It is.
And again, on the regular health insurance too, what did we see for an increase this past year?
I'd have to go back and
Just to
look.
give the public a perspective as to what we're dealing with, and we're trying to balance the budgets here. And we have employee benefits, that we need to cover. And these are retirees, and again, they share 50% of the cost here, whereas on the regular health insurance for active employees, the town is absorbing 70% of the cost. So it's, it eats into our ability to maintain level services when we see increases of this significant level. But anyway, that being said, we appreciate Mr. Maffio's efforts to get us a reduction too, so.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the retiree health insurance for 2026 as indicated in the renewal column of the attached summary.
Second?
Seconded by Mr. Massey. Any further discussion? Insurance Advisory Committee or the retirees have also been consulted in.
I believe they've been advised, because we don't really have
I know.
another alternative, unfortunately. I think we hoped that we would. But we also are mindful of the impact on the retirees of going through a transition and what that might mean. And, even with an alternative, we were, being cognizant that it can be very disruptive to go through that transition. And in the end, we didn't end up having an alternative. So we're sort of at where we're at, unfortunately.
Okay. Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous. All right, special committee to review town bylaws. Charter section 9, -3-1. Mr. Massey brought it up at the last meeting, and again, highlighted the fact that we haven't been in compliance, and this is going to be our attempt to come into compliance, and something we should be doing on a every 5-year basis, which we haven't been doing. So, what's that?
No later than 1970.
Yeah.
That's right. 1970.
Yeah, 1970, 69, 70 is when the charter went in. Yeah, and quite honest with you, I don't recall.
You weren't there that, I mean,
Well, I was moderator, so yeah, I've been around for a while. But I wasn't here. But anyway, that being said, not a bad exercise to go through, and again, conversation with the town administrator, we thought that it would probably be best be handled from administrative staff, since these are the individuals, a lot of the individuals who are dealing with the implementation, compliance with general bylaws, and probably be able to facilitate it more quickly. Again, they would be required to report back to us, by August 1st, which is prior to the deadline for filing warrant articles for the October town meeting, as the charter calls for, and doesn't preclude them from bringing forth any suggestions that they may have or that they're considering in the interim. And that's what I would suggest that they do too. If there's some bylaws that they think need to be updated or changed or codified, don't just drop it on us at August 1st. Let us know as they're coming across it. But again, and what I wanted to make sure with the town administrator is that these people are willing volunteers, not too much arm twisting.
There's one whose arm still needs to be twisted, but we'll get there.
I didn't see your name there. No, but again, we appreciate their willingness to assist us in complying.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Massey.
understanding it says every year, Mr. Studo brought up a great point, but turning it around in a year. Mr. Studo brought up a good point about how many bylaws there may be, and understanding the people on this proposed committee are very busy. Any thought to giving them 2 years, or any thought to maybe adding members
I
that
don't
would?
think the whole set of bylaws need to be
Okay.
redone and recodified.
Yeah.
And again, we'll leave it up to the discretion as to what can be tackled, and again, just, and it doesn't just have to be every 5 years. They can take another year to complete the task too, but let's just get it started and get it going.
How about thoughts of adding more people, because if they're all very busy, they might have difficulty creating a quorum.
I think a lot of this can be done during the course of the normal business day, and I think they can carve out some time. Let's give it a try, and again, if it doesn't work, and the suggestion from the working committee here is that they need a little more assistance, we're open to their.
Okay.
Let's just get the ball rolling. Mrs. Moran?
I'm just curious, should the town planner be included, since there's so many bylaws to deal with?
Those are zoning bylaws.
Zoning bylaws.
This is general bylaws.
Got it, okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, just a point to clarify, this directive is included in the section of the charter relative to charter changes, but for those in the community who have come to me and said, we need to have a charter review, this is not that.
No.
This is a provision that requires a select board to appoint a committee, special committee, to look at our reviewing and recodifying our existing bylaws. It's not a charter review. There is provisions for changes to be made, but they are not what this section calls for. So for those who may be expecting that, this work will be limited to really an administrative review of our existing general bylaws.
Yep.
And I can put the motion up on this.
Yes, motion, Mrs. Moran?
I'll put it up on this.
Mr. Chairman, I move in accordance with Chapter Section 931 that the Select Board establish a special committee to review and recodify all existing general bylaws of the town, excluding zoning bylaws, with a report to be issued to the Select Board on or about August 1st, 2026. The committee shall consist of 5 members as follows, for terms to expire October 31st, 2026. Director of Public Services Lillian Hartman, Town Clerk Susan Duplin, Police Chief Mark Zimmerman, Building Commissioner Gerard Noel, and Director of Public Health Robert Bracy.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Massey. Any further discussion? Hearing none.
Yeah, Lillian and Mrs. Duplin make a lot of sense for this, but police chief, building commissioner, director of public health.
Police chief will have all this time on his hands now.
I can't, right? You tell him that. Yeah, hopefully it works out.
Right, we'll give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
We'll give it a shot. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Unanimous. Meeting minutes. Mrs. Moran.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the open session minutes for the September 29, 2025 meeting as amended.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you, board members, for that, for delaying that one.
What do we got here now? Yes.
Sorry, Captain.
Yes.
Mrs. Moran.
You don't want to stay?
No.
Acknowledgement of review and release of the following, acknowledgement of review and release the following executive session minutes dated as the purposes of the executive sessions have expired. October 3rd, 2016, exemption 3, and RAS Union. October 3rd, 2016, exemption 3, Fire Union. November 7th, 2016, exemption 7, minutes. Acknowledgement of review and release of the following executive session minutes subject to any necessary reductions pursuant to the Public Records Law. September 19th, 2016, exemption 3, SSBC litigation. November 7th, 2016, exemption 3, litigation. Acknowledgement of review and to continue to withhold the following executive session meeting minutes as the purposes of such executive sessions have not expired and continued non-disclosure is still warranted. September 12th, 2016, exemption 3, DPW Union. September 12th, 2016, exemption 3, and RAS Union. September 12th, 2016, exemption 3, Fire Union. September 12th, 2016, exemption 5, investigate criminal misconduct or consider filing of criminal complaints. September 12th, 2016, exemption 6 for 9 Mill Street. September 12th, 2016, exemption 7, privacy exemption. September 19th, 2016, exemption 3, DPW Union. September 19th, 2016, exemption 3, and RAS Union. September 19th, 2016, exemption 3, Fire Union. September 19th, 2016, exemption 5, investigate criminal misconduct, consider filing of criminal complaints. September 19th, 2016, exemption 7, privacy exemption. October 3rd, 2016, exemption 5, investigate criminal misconduct, consider filing of criminal complaints. October 3rd, 2016, exemption 3, Union Health Insurance. October 3rd, 2016, exemption 6, 9 Mill Street. October 3rd, 2016, exemption 7, privacy exemption. November 7th, 2016, exemption 3, and RAS Union. And November 7th, 2016, exemption 3, Fire Union.
Thank you, Mrs. Moran.
You know when you read the same word 50 bajillion times and you look at it and it looks like it's misspelled, but it's spelled correctly, and it just kind of runs together?
Well, some of them, it goes back and forth with a T and without a T,
Right.
the exemption. But.
You got
Scribbles.
flooded there too.
I was clearly working urgently when this was all getting written.
Saving ink. All right, Town Administrator's report.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman. First, unfortunately, the senior center is closed again this week through November 7th to allow for ongoing utility work to finish. We're very close. If you were by there today, you saw that there was trenches being paved by Bernice, and there's more work that'll be done, I believe, tomorrow. We expect to have the staff back in the building later in the week and full programming to resume per normal schedule beginning on Monday. Again, we continue to thank the public's patience for this transition. I forwarded you a copy of the Year 9 activity report from our Drug-Free Communities grant. I also forwarded a copy of a public update from the North Reading Fire Department regarding last week's live burn exercise on Haverhill Street. as well as a copy of the report of the Mobile Home Rent Control Board, as Mr. O'Leary identified, regarding the request to discontinue the mobile home use. I'm not going to reread the update with regard to Martin's Landing. I included a copy of holiday season hours for non-emergency services, including Town Hall, Edith O'Leary Senior Center, and the Flint Memorial Library, where we'll be making some adjustments and extending hours in the early and middle parts of the month, but we will be closed a few days around the holidays at the end of the month, and this will be posted online. And then finally, I was pleased to host, along with the library director and the director of public works, the State Inspector General for an informational meeting where he came as part of his efforts to conduct outreach to cities and towns and learn more about the challenges that we're facing. We discussed the challenges facing North Reading and many communities, and we were encouraged by his commitment to working with cities and towns. And I forwarded you a copy of the documents that he provided. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And again, the fact that the Inspector General has been reaching out, kind of unprecedented. Now, the Inspector Generals that we've had since inception, probably about 20 years worth, or 25 years, never. So, interesting. I mean, first of all, when you get a call and you get say, by the way, we're coming out from the Inspector General, you usually get a little nervous. And this was quite the contrary. So,
We had a nice meeting.
very good. So, again, thank you. All right. We need to schedule a strategic planning meeting. And we have to look at our schedules and timelines and see what works. And again, my guess is we're planning on doing the same place down at the police station.
Depending upon the availability of the room, which is becoming more and more taxed, but that's our goal.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there's just a lot of different uses that are happening.
And again, traditionally, we've done it in this month.
It's generally been in November, yeah.
It's generally been in November. And what do you need for some lead time to, I mean, I think we should do something, and again, this is open for discussion as far as something a little different than what we've been doing. There's an awful lot of information there that's redundant, mundane. I think truly from a strategic planning standpoint, I think as a board we need to focus more on some of the fiscal challenges that we're facing immediately, in the not too distant future here, in the upcoming budget season, as well as some of the capital projects that we've been talking about, whether it be the fire station or the senior center, and potentially at some point down the road, this particular facility. It's open for discussion as to what do you think the agenda should really be. Strategic planning doesn't necessarily have to be all-encompassing as far as
No, I think
the good, the bad, the ugly, and, Mr. Studo.
targeting, yeah.
I think it should be
Targeted ideas, just
I think
because
it
it's
should be
like, again, we got this document where I think at this point we're down to 15 different fonts and colors, poor Mr. Roberto, we're all over the place. But yeah, more targeted. Maybe just come up with like a list of things that just don't have time to get aired. It would encompass a whole meeting here, just to talk about it, so. Yeah, I think that's better. Bullet points, yeah, because again, the mission statement's awesome, but yeah, it doesn't.
Yeah, we can get hung up on some things.
Yes.
Yes, we tend to. So again, I think we should, I'll coordinate with the town administrator as far as targeting different subject matters as to what we should be focusing on. Again, I welcome any input as far as suggestions. Again, when we talk about, again, wastewater was a big issue. But wastewater is still a big issue, and I know that Mr. Waller and the chair of the Planning Commission have been moving forward with some research that they've done and possibilities as far as us getting into the wastewater treatment business ourselves. That should be a focus, probably. Again, from a budgetary standpoint, how are we going to consider maintaining level services, never mind introducing any new initiatives, within the constraints of Prop 2.5. How are we going to focus our attention on informing the public as to what the needs are going to be, what they are, and what the costs associated with it. Are we going to be proposing some sort of an override, general operating override, come the spring? And that should, to me, those are things that should be coming out of our strategic plan this year. Along with other things, timelines associated with some of the other investments that we've made as far as the fire station goes, as far as the instruction we got from town meeting with the 2 votes that they took, trying to get the senior center under one roof. So it all kind of dovetails, and that's enough stuff to cover
That's a lot.
and still have dinner.
Right, Catherine, we have dinner there, which
Yes.
is,
This is the only time you get fed.
that's the
Other
only
than,
thing I
candy-
other
would.
than candy,
Yeah, other than candy. Yeah.
what time is this, what time is it typically?
It's usually
on?
at 6 o'clock in the evening, usually.
Any chance of doing it on a Friday?
Well, I mean, I have to
Took
speak,
up
you
my
know,
youth.
it's usually date night, but no. My poor wife, she hasn't had date night in years.
Tuesday the 25th?
What's that?
How about Tuesday the 25th?
Tuesday, the 25th
You
of
said 2 days before Thanksgiving?
the Thanksgiving?
Well, that won't go over too big, but let's see.
How about Monday the 24th?
No.
Let's see.
You were saying you're trying to do it.
Yeah, and again,
I can make either of those work.
I'm sorry?
I can make either of those dates work.
I can make neither, because I will not be in the state.
Never mind.
I'll be in the state for Tuesday. No,
19th?
no condition to come to this meeting on Tuesday. Just being honest.
How about the 20th? Thursday the 20th?
I can't do the 20th.
The 19th?
Last year we did it in December, 1 year.
I can't do the 19th.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe December
Julie,
3rd.
Next week? Or is that too
I
soon?
think that's probably too soon.
It might be tough to prepare
Yeah.
a useful tool by then.
How about Tuesday the 2nd of December?
That works for me.
We can't. I'm sorry, this is just like incredible busy. Just, how about the week of the 15th? That's when things open up.
December?
I mean, I can find a day in between, but it's gotta be very specific.
That's, I feel like it's really close to the holidays.
But technically, the other one's close to a holiday too.
Oh my God.
I'm just saying, I'm just pointing
You
out
know, there's
facts.
too many holidays.
There are too many holidays.
There's too many
Facts.
holidays.
Screw
yeah.
the holidays.
It's gonna be, right, I mean,
How about the 16th?
How about the 11th,
of which month?
December?
I'm not available.
The 11th
No.
You're
works
not
for me.
available?
I'm not available. I'm gonna be away.
Not of it.
Tuesday the 16th?
11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th.
Tuesday, the 16th?
I can do Tuesday.
Tuesday the 16th works
I
for
can
me.
do Tuesday, the 16th.
That give you enough time to do stuff?
Works.
Good with that?
Why
Tuesday
don't-
the 16th?
Tuesday, December 16th? Is that what I just heard?
Does that work?
5,
I
right?
think that would work.
We're doing it at like 5, right? That's when we started, 5?
We did it at 6, but we could do it, I mean, whatever time folks want to do it
I
at.
can do 5.
That works.
I cannot do 5.
Just so when we
I
start
can do
talking about,
5:30.
you know,
You can do what?
5:30?
You can do what?
Catherine?
5:30?
5:30?
5:30?
Cool.
Tuesday, the 16th at 5:30?
There we go.
And how long is it?
That was
It's all night.
All night? Oh, great. You do know I have a union job. I have to be at work at 6 a.m., right?
Yeah.
Give the union job.
At 6 a.m.?
Yes, I start at
That's a
6.
bad union. Who negotiated that contract?
It's the carpenters.
out early.
So that, I'm sorry, so that was, what
Laborers
day did we
don't go
agree
So
on?
we're saying Tuesday
The laborers start
16th
at
at 5:30.
5:30.
Not the ones I talk to, because I want their money. Those ones don't go in at 5:30. I'm just saying, the union hall doesn't open that early.
The hall doesn't, but
They try to get their reform on, they won't.
board.
All right,
Can't even
so
see.
Tuesday, the 16th,
Strategic.
5:30 to midnight, right?
Midnight?
Oh,
And with,
No, it doesn't go that way.
we'll confirm the room, but we're hopeful that it will be in the training room at the police department. So we try to do it in a different venue.
Training from the police?
The training room at the
Okay.
police department, yep.
Are they gonna lock the doors and leave us
Good
Yeah, we
question.
may
I
have
don't
to-
know whether it'll be locked in.
We'll have to
then.
knock it.
No, they're
Locked
gonna
in or
like
locked out,
shut it down and leave.
I suspect the doors will be unlocked and there will be someone in the station with us at that point.
Yeah, we can't be trusted, they're alone. So there'll be someone there.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
All right, that's great. Terrific. And
Is it truly going to be until midnight?
one more motion, Mrs. Moran.
I'm sorry, yes. Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, unanimous. Thank you, thank you.
Sweet.